Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Stair Floor episode 5.
Definitely take one.
We got a really special episode today because we have special guests Wh0misDS and MozzarellaCheez.
What do you mean you don't get a face reveal? Here it is.
If you don't know who these guys are, you're just not in the scene at all. And if you're not, then welcome. But Whom, for the longest time, was considered the god at this game. He had many long-standing records and kind of dominated the scene for a long period of time. And Cheez also is one of the best runners in the scene. If you read a guide, it was probably made by him.
A literal game changer.
Yeah. But how's it going, guys?
So.
Yeah.
It's going all right.
There's going to be some fun stuff to talk about, and then there's going to be some stuff that I'm going to have to be quiet with.
We, the way this episode is going to work is Whom has to leave halfway through. So we're going to maybe be jumping around. If not, I just want to focus on Whom if I can for the first half, and then we'll continue when he leaves for the second half. And when we last left off, we had, as a community, just left the main series Discord and made our own. This was in 2017, like early 2017, right?
Yeah, so we left the Discord, we left the main series Discord in like 2016. Like the year after, that's what I'd say was like the fallout, or like, just us adapting to those changes. But not a lot happened within that year, I would say. The game actually, I hate to say it like this, but it actually died a little bit. Like, we didn't really have that much activity. I was just verifying runs, and I saw somebody new posting to the Blue Rescue Team leaderboards. I didn't really think anything of it. I just did my verification, skimmed through the run, and I didn't really think anything of it until I was talking to like a noob, and he's like, "Yeah, Whom's gonna get world record soon?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, he just started. Like, what do you see in this gameplay that's gonna make you think he's gonna get world record?" Because I'm not paying attention. I'm just kind of doing my job verifying. But noob already knew like a month in advance, 2 months in advance, that he was gonna lose the world record for save and quit.
Well, I don't even know if he entered the scene at the time that we left this off. So
yeah, actually, Whom came like I want to say roughly a month after me. So
right, I thought we were doing the first hour with Whom.
Oh yeah. So Whom, how did you get into the scene? What made you want to run this game?
So the first time I ever considered it was like I was just watching random videos on YouTube, and I eventually came across HDQ, and that was like the first time I ever saw speedrunning in general. And so after like watching a bunch of those marathon runs, I was like, all right, I want to actually try this myself. And so I was looking up like, all right, what game should I start off with to do speedrunning? And the main piece of advice I found was play a game that you're familiar with and that you're gonna have fun with. And so I was like, okay, what do I know I can play okay? I have like some decent knowledge in, and I'd be willing to like play it multiple times. And then I found my Blue Rescue Team cart. But this was back in, I want to say like 2014, 2015, when I had initially attempted it, where I had absolutely nothing other than the game on my 3DS, and my timer was my stopwatch, like not any sort of like smartwatch or anything, like a very much older stopwatch.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah.
So it was just me doing casual runs just for the fun of it to see what I do. And yeah, that was back before save and quit was even a thing. So like I think I did that run like twice. And I ended up getting like a 3:14, something like that at the time, which was pretty good, but I didn't have a way to record it, so eventually I just left it.
I actually had no idea you started with no QS, no undermail, but that makes more sense.
Yeah,
this is the first time I'm hearing the story that like a year before you ever submitted anything, you were just kind of messing around with the game.
Yeah, it was something where like I did it for a bit, had fun with it, but then I forgot about it. And then in like a lull, because I was playing Overwatch at the time of me first like jumping back into PMD. Like I just was starting to get bored with it. And so yeah, during that summer, I looked into the speedrunning stuff again, and I noticed that there was this whole new category where you did RNG manipulation, and the game was beaten so much faster I was like, what the heck happened? So I decided to like look through the route, and I realized, oh wait, this isn't too bad. You just need to like quick save, and it's no like frame perfect stuff or anything. It's pretty simple to get into. So I just started learning it, and the way I would practice was I was just kind of going through the route casually, while my friend Lynx was trying to beat the game at 10 times speed.
Okay.
So we would race that way. And yeah, that's how I started to get better at it. And then eventually I was able to get a potato cam setup actually going this time.
Mhm.
So yeah, I had my phone, actually, oh, is it here? Yeah. So I had my phone on this, pointed
nice.
at my 3DS, and just like playing over here, recording with my laptop at the time.
I remember you had like an overlay for your video where it was like the bottom screen of a 3DS.
Yep.
Like your
Yeah, I
video
had
feed
a-
was inside of it.
I had a picture of a 3DS as like the background, and then inside it was the game.
Love
And
the stuff.
Honestly, it
Oh,
was
it
like
was-
the best looking potato cam ever.
It was quite the potato cam setup, and especially because because live split doesn't work on Mac laptops and stuff. So I did a Skype call with myself where I was sending the live split from my computer to my laptop to put it on the OBS on my laptop.
What a setup.
And-
Oh my god.
Yeah,
You're
it
telling
was.
me that you've worked harder than any of us to get a run out there.
I did what I could to finally get a run going.
It's funny. I
Because,
had like a similar story for stupid shit I was trying to get my first try. That's
yeah, I
funny.
mean, like emulator was a thing, but it was filtered, and I figured I have the game on 3DS, so I do kind of want to like do a run with this setup if I can. And yeah, so I was able to get that set up, and then I started like really practicing runs. So I got my time down from like 240 initially, I think, and then I started getting down to like below 220. I remember I got a 210 at one point, and I think the first one I ever submitted was a 207. And that
sounds right.
that you can only find on speedrun.com, because I never unlisted that video, because I just figured like, I'll just put it up. And then I think I had started to come up with like a couple of like new strats for certain dungeons where I was just like completing floors a little faster. I noticed that like in the notes you mentioned the troll orb thing, which I don't know why I didn't initially think like, oh, I can just wondermill in a second chestnut. But instead I thought, well, because I think what happened was on a 1F randomly, I found a troll orb on the floor. And then I realized, wait, if I use the troll orb here on 9F, then I can just get both chestnuts instantly.
Right. Not
And
even
so-
plan, just completely improvised, right?
Yeah, so that's what initially gave me the idea. And so then I put that into the route, changed up the wondermill codes to make them a little bit more reasonable, I think.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I got a 205, which was just slightly behind Noob's time. And so because I was so close, I decided to like push for the record. And then, yeah, I was able to get my first ever WR, not just in PMD, but in general, with that 204 back like in 2017.
So
And like, how long after you started playing would you say it took you? Because you say you started with a 240. Like, what was the time difference between that 240 and that 204 or whatever?
I guess it was about a month where I was doing a run like I was doing like a couple of attempts every other day.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, I'd say that like I put a decent grind into it at that point. And then once I finally got the record, I really started trying to think of like, okay, what else can be done?
Did you like
and I
see
think
that 2 hour mark and like just think maybe what if I can get past that? Or
I didn't
not
even
yet
think
at the time?
of beating the 2 hour mark at the time. Like that was not even what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out like, okay, can I get below 204 at that point? But I think like shortly after I had submitted that run, that was when there was some discussion in the Discord server about using like different Pokemon
Mhm.
for it.
Oh yeah.
And
I think at that point our understanding was that Machop was the fastest, just by sources.
like-
Dude, trust me. Like you know, this is the slowest Pokemon to level up. So I think it was Worcester that said it was Machop. So that's just
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he leveled up the slowest at early levels, I think, but nobody thought to go all the way. And then there was that one website, I can't remember the name of it anymore. I think it was like Ultimate Poke Center, which unfortunately can only be found with Wayback Machine now. I was looking at that, but I think Whom also found something like that or looked at it himself just before I did. I remember suggesting Meowth.
Yeah.
And for that reason, because I noticed that he would finish the run at the lowest level. And then Whom like found out about pickup while he was messing with Meowth. But there's more detail that Whom remembers.
I think so. Whom comes in and now he's the record holder and he starts pushing other things. And were you the first person to do all icons? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can get into that in a moment, but yeah,
Okay.
that all icons thing was a whim.
He was the first to do it non-manipped. Like Noob had done it with manips before.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, my question is, when you came into the scene, what was your like stance in the community? Were people like, "Who the fuck is this guy"? Were you even in the Discord at all at the time?
I was in this Discord server. I didn't talk at all until I got the record, I think.
You talked a little bit before that. I think you posted the 207 because Noob commented, "Ooh, these are making me sweat." Because at that time, Noob was like the quick save champion.
Yeah, after Worcester pretty much retired or just stopped caring. He did his 212 and he stopped caring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, okay, if I remember correctly, what happened with the Meowth stuff was, I was looking at the EXP curves from everything from like level 1 to level 15 or something. And I noticed that there were 4 Pokemon that followed basically the same EXP curve, and it was like ultimately the least amount of EXP up until that point, which is all you need for save and quit.
Okay.
Funny enough, I think it was a tie between Meowth and Eevee.
Yep, it was like Meowth, Eevee, Charmander, and I think Trico.
Yeah, Charmander and Trico have the same curve.
But yeah,
can confirm.
That is why I swapped the partner from Torchic to Charmander, just because of getting that same EXP curve. So you could potentially get 2 level ups at the same time. But I was not going to use Meowth at first. I was going to use Eevee because I thought it was funny.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to like start doing Eevee stuff, and then Cheez like asked about Meowth, and so I tried Meowth, and then I realized that when I didn't have a held item on, the floors were changing, and as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh shoot, pickup is going to change this game. So I went through like every single floor trying to figure out, okay, what does pickup change that would be faster? And so, I started figuring out like a bunch of different setups for just taking off my held item and realizing that like, oh, I can straight up skip enemies and just like rush through things faster. So I went through the entire game doing that. And around the same time, there was the relay race, where it was like the old runners versus the new runners.
Yeah, the first relay.
Yep. And I was working on the strats behind the scenes to unveil it with the relay.
Yeah, you said you're gonna like unveil a whole new bunch of strats. I don't think we had any commentators for the event. I'm not certain.
Oh no, we did that event the same way we did the newer relay, and this was actually the first time we got to hear Whom's voice.
Yeah, that was the first time we heard Whom's voice. That's true.
He started out kind of like Secure.
Secure can't take notes, by the way. We did hear Whom's voice eventually. That's all.
The moments I realized things are going to be really crazy, I think in Mount Steel, you did pickup strats, and I think he gave you like a Petrify Orb, or was it the Troll Orb?
There's a Petrify Orb in Mount Steel on 4F.
So I don't think Noob had ever considered using pickup strats or looking into it that deep.
Yeah, that
could only be found by accident, really.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. And then I think during my preparation for that is when I got the 202, which is still the record on DS today. Is it beatable? 100%. If you use even like a semblance of the newer strats, for sure it's beatable. But it was groundbreaking at the time because it was the first run to ever do Meowth strats like to completion, and it was like the record. So that was a pretty cool run. And then for the relay race, I was able to unveil it there. I think I forgot to link before Mount Thunder, and I couldn't really beat the peak, so I went back, linked, and then went back through Mount Thunder.
You still won that by like 4
I think
minutes.
I still won.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the relay race, just a little bit of background for that. That was really like the first community event I had organized, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, we had so much new talent coming in that were, I would say at the level of the people that had been playing the game for years. So I'm like, well, what if we did kind of an exhibition to show, you know, at least a few of these top level runners of the current age against the people that have been gathering dust for, you know, years. There was originally going to be me, Lycanoob, and Cobral being on Time and Darkness or Sky, but he just completely ghosted me that weekend.
Oh shit.
And I like scribbled out his name and put Fretzy, because Fretzy at that point was willing to do literally anything.
I want to find that image now.
So it was Lycanoob versus Wh0misDS on Blue Rescue Team. Fretzy versus Nyan Latios, who I believe goes by Lydian Latios now, for Time, Darkness, and Sky. And then it was me versus MozzarellaCheez for Super Mystery Dungeon. Now, the Boomers won. And
this is a tragic story.
It was it was purely because Lydian Latios got bodied so hard in Time, Darkness, and Sky.
He died like 5 times in Dark Hill or something, and like a bunch of other deaths.
It was ridiculous.
Which if anyone's wondered why I have that split named Rip Lydian Latios, there you go. Or Rip Nyan Latios, that's what he used to be named. It was entirely because of that relay.
Yeah, so that was a fun exhibition, and you know, Wh0misDS had, you know, come into the scene at the perfect time to make that happen. Well, I mean, it wouldn't have happened without them, because other than them, we didn't really have any people pushing BRT or pushing Super to the limits. You know, without them, you know, Lycanoob would still, I don't know if still, but still at that time would have still had the record at 205 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Cobral's Super World record would still be at like 634.
Okay.
Without Cheez.
So that's kind of the early history of unrestricted, right? And then you got into any percent, no quick save, no wonder mail. Right?
Oh, there's one really funny part that needs to be mentioned about quick saves.
So what happened was after that relay, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get really into PMD speedrunning, and my potato cam setup is okay, but I want to have something better. So what I did was I asked my my cousin if I could borrow their Wii U, which I'm still technically borrowing, but yeah, I just have it. And so yeah, I was able to get a capture card for it, and like for the sole purpose of like, okay, I know that Wii U saves time. I'm curious to see how much time. Okay. So I did an unrestricted run with the new route on Wii U. And I'm pretty sure it was like the first attempt I did too. And it ended up saving 4 minutes, and it just crushed the sub 2 milestone instantly. And I was like, well, yeah, Wii U's broken.
We'll never forget it. And nobody would believe that Whom wrote this. All we saw 158 posted in Discord with the message from Whom, Wii U makes me wet, oh my god.
So then ever since then, well, up until recently, of course, but Wii U has just been considered like the GOAT for running this game. Did this like cause a whole wave? Was there a whole wave of people buying Wii U's after this?
Kind of, yeah. There was no console split, so you kind of had to run Wii U to be on top of the board.
So yeah,
no console split whatsoever. Emulators were still hidden by default, and emulators hadn't really reached the point where they are now, where it's considered the same as Wii U.
Yeah, it was rare for people to run on emulator, except for like Rescue Team.
Yeah, because you know, if you're gonna put time into Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky, you want that to count and be visible, because you're gonna spend hours and hours, like 6 hours or more playing the game. You might as well have some recognition for it.
And Citra was complete ass for Gates and Super back then. Like nobody could run Citra except who.
I guess that's down the line, but yeah, that was interesting first working with that. But it was nice to be part of like the series runs thanks to that, since I didn't own Gates War Super at that time. But yeah, I think after that run, that's when I finally decided, okay, now I want to start working on the RNG category, because I had been fully focusing on execution. Now I wanted to like work on adaptability, and yeah, that I think, yeah, that was when I first got the 247,
Okay.
which barely beat Halq. And so that was like the first time I ever held that record. And I guess that was what, November 10th, 2017? So I guess that was quite a while ago.
Sounds about
Yeah,
right. My run
yeah.
was in May of 2017. So that lines up.
Oh yeah, okay. So 2 days later I got a 246. But the notable thing about that run is like I didn't have mic on for any of these. So I like these were just like pure gameplay. But that run, I was showing my grandma the game.
Oh, really?
So I was doing a speed run for her, and she got to like witness that record live. So that was pretty cool.
So
that was a fun one.
One thing I don't think we've mentioned so far about your history as a content creator is that you actually started out streaming on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Oh,
well,
yeah. This is actually a good transition too.
So back then I did not stream at all. I just recorded my runs offline and then I uploaded them. I've only ever done one YouTube stream, and that was the All Icons run.
And then did you not have access to it or something? I remember there being like a monumental issue.
First All Icons No QS No Undermail run by Wh0m was 16 hours, but YouTube cut it off at the 12-hour mark.
Yep. So I wasn't able to actually submit it.
At which point we were all like, God damn it, just stream this Witch already.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a rough one, because that was such a long run. I died to Purity Forest like for 5 hours or something.
Oh yeah, that was before Alakazam. You were trying Kadabra thinking it'd be fine. Oh no.
Yeah. The first time I did Alakazam, I cleared it, but I was attempting, like, I think I first attempted Articuno. That was not going anywhere. Then I was like, okay, you know what? The strats are Alakazam for the Manip Purity Forest. Why don't I try it in the non-Manip one? Except the problem was I did not realize at the time that you only need to use the link cable when it goes up to Alakazam. So I accidentally used it early when evolving Abra to Kadabra. So I didn't have my link cable anymore. I didn't feel like going through Solar Cave again to go and get another link cable. So I was like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to run with Kadabra. That should be fine. And then I kept getting to like the ADFs, and then I would just die to like a random Parasect or Venomoth or something. I was like, okay, this is not working. I'm just going to get Alakazam, and then, yeah, its base stats are nuts.
There are other things that made that run take forever, and sorry for cutting off the any percent discussion. Although I think this came short. Yeah, it came shortly after any percent. Anyways, I don't remember where you left off on any percent, and then you did All Icons as a stream on YouTube.
Yeah,
this was also back when we thought we had to recruit Mew in that run.
Oh, yep. Yeah, for a long time, All Icons, I thought that I had to recruit Mew. So I think it was up until I had like a time in the 9 hours before I finally realized, wait, I can just beat the dungeon and it counts as the icon. And so that made things a lot better, because there was at least 2 All Icons runs where like I was on decent pace, and then I lost like 5 hours to Buried Relic, and I was like, all right, screw it, I'm just gonna give up this run.
I was there for one of them, and I was trying to tell you to save and quit, but you didn't want to, because back then that would actually kill the run, because it was straight up single segment. Like, you weren't even allowed safety saves at all back then, which also made the All Icons run much shittier, because then when you wanted to get the legendary birds, you had to do entire dungeons again at every failure. But I remember trying to tell you to save and quit, because I thought that you could just get the Mew icon from Buried Relic, because I saw that happen in Red Rescue Team. And then finally, like, one of those runs that got slaughtered by Mew, you just said, okay, well, I quit anyways, so let's see. And then you saw it, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely at least made it easier for subsequent attempts, so that was nice.
After that, it was like 9 and 10 hour runs only. From there, the worst parts were done.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's any percent. And then after Grandma Run, it looks like he beat it a couple weeks later.
After Grandma Run.
Yeah.
The 1030. Yeah. Yeah, I beat that. I think I beat it like immediately after. That was still when we were getting Mew, but that was just like a better run because I knew what to do for Purity Force. That was the main time save for that run. Yeah, I guess around that time I slightly improved Unrestricted, and that 157 was the last time that I did an unrestricted run without Warp Scarf, because this was all before Warp Scarf strats were even in, like, a consideration. So I had that. I guess I got my 245 around that time as well. So yeah, I guess I had just improved both Unrestricted and no QS, no Wondermail in like within a couple days. And then, oh, okay, right. So around that time, Mistaldi was working on All Icons Unrestricted in the background.
Okay.
Which, that was like when that route got finished and unveiled, that was pretty cool to see. And so there was like a bunch of people that were like interested in it and working on it. And so, like, I remember Mistaldi did his run and got like that record. And then Halq was able to beat it.
And I think I put in my speedrun.com submission, this will be beat tomorrow. And then you did your run the next day.
Let's see.
Because like my run was literally done, like I didn't practice at all. I just read the notes, because the best thing about quick saves is most of the time you don't even need to be looking at the game. As long as you're pressing the buttons exactly the way you're supposed to, you don't even need like to look at the video game. And that made it very easy to complete that without any preparation.
Yeah.
Soon to be former world record, but it's nice to have had it one time. Now I have held WR in every category in every localized PMD game. This was before Recruitamos.
Yeah, this was before a lot of categories.
20%.
If I'm looking at this right, it got beat 2 days later, right?
Yeah, because I think the next day, well, because I remember I was working on updating the route, because I first of all was like actually memorizing a bunch of things up until like Lightning Field, probably, actually maybe even further than that. Like I got pretty far with memorizing the route, because I was also like going through each floor and seeing if I could do things that would make like slight improvements to just like general time save. So yeah, I ended up just doing a lot of that, and I think this was still before Warp Scarf, so there's probably even more improvement that can be done now.
Yeah, that category hasn't been touched in ages. We didn't use Warp Scarf in it.
I mean, hell, I think my record from December 10th, 2017 is still the record for it, because just nobody really does that category. Even though it is a pretty cool route, I do want to work on that again at some point.
I've attempted to learn it a few times, and it's just I burn out every time on the 99Fs. It's
a long one for sure. Yeah, because I only did like half and half. So even back then, I figured like, yeah, this can probably go to like 420, 410. I mean, even now, I'm sure that it could probably go to sub 4.
Or 20%?
20%. And
the problem is the problem with just doing runs of quick save that just go beyond the main story is that the memorization can get tedious, and that's the main reason I haven't been back to quick saves myself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the category. Like, once you know everything, it's not that bad and it's pretty fun to run. But it's just that you got to get in there and you got to learn those things. You got to memorize them, and it's just like you can just feel your brain rotting just trying to, like, you have the
it's so
the
much
UDLR
work.
just completely like running through your mind, and floors can get completely mixed up. Like, you can actually do the wrong movement on the floor you meant to do somewhere else.
So it's so much to memorize. I remember when I was learning it, I started feeling like I was forgetting a lot of other things. Like, it was just destroying my long-term memory because of the amount of inputs I needed to remember and the amount of 1F screenshots that I needed to hold in my brain to remember what to do.
I've come to conclusion that if I do quick saves again, I'll need to like have like a YouTube video on, or just a day where I watch YouTube and just in the background while I'm watching, just do the inputs like in the emulator just while I'm doing something else, so that I can get actual muscle memory.
Oh, true.
Because it's not going to get committed to my actual memory. It's impossible.
Yeah, I practiced the quick save minutes so much to like actually like actively get them memorized. Yeah, I remember I did that so much just to make sure that I like remembered things. And even with all of that, I still had like a lot of mistakes or just like slower parts where I needed to like look at the guide. I don't know if I ever fully memorized Magma Cavern, except for like there was one point which I had memorized it, but it was before the warp scarf stuff, I think.
Now, I have a question. Do you think that learning quick saves and the movement that comes with quick saves and the optimization of your own movements in quick saves makes you better for no quick save runs?
I feel like it does, because like there is definitely that like being able to adapt to the situations part, which you can get without doing quick save movement, but being able to just like rush through things and have a good idea of like, okay, I want to move this way, and in that moment you just have like good memory to be able to like do whatever movement you need to do very quickly. That can certainly come into play.
It teaches you some proper movement techniques.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm excited to have some people do quick save runs in the near future.
It's something you always told me, Cheese, is that if I were to do quick saves, it would help me with like my sky movement immensely.
Oh my god, yes. It teaches you how to do so many things really well that you might not have thought to do, and then you get muscle memory for doing it. Shady also recommends like not necessarily quick saves, but just generally practicing some of the same floors again and again to teach yourself how to slowly do it quicker each time.
But okay, so we're nearing the end of 2017. Looks like you got BRT unrestricted and low percent. I don't know if anybody cares about low percent.
So
but
in the background, while all this is going on, this is when I think the Sky one Renaissance was going on.
Yeah, because I see
where,
Jay just entered the scene around this time, right?
Oh well, this is before Jay. So
okay.
This is when I think we touched on it last time. Fretzy got a 60149 in Sky with Wondermail codes, and that was the beginning of the Wondermail, revamping Sky and just making it faster.
By the way, that's one of the funniest runs ever.
Yeah. At that time, I was the only one willing to just kind of put in the time initially, because then Wh0misDS came around, and Cheez immediately hopped on it, I think. And I was able to push the time down to 5:27 within like a month and a half, I think.
Okay.
And I kind of sat there for a bit at that time because I just broke a 5:30 milestone. I didn't really have any desire to improve things.
I actually want to elaborate on that a little more.
Yeah, go ahead, Cheese.
So my first Sky race was with you, Lycanoob, Latios, and I think Sweeney. And that was the first race where Wondermail was used in Sky. Prior to that, the whole 90% board was just no Wondermail, literally because nobody thought Wondermail would save time. that was it. There was no split because it was thought to be unoptimal. And then Nostaldi proposed that we try some fighting type exclusive items because we mained Riolu. So he offered the Orange Silk for boosting stats, which we didn't really make much use of then, but now we use White Silk, so it's kind of funny. But the big thing was the Fight Gem, which he had no idea how much that would change the entire game. And in that race we did, only Nye and Latios wanted to try the Fight Gem.
Oh, really?
And he was downright Craigasming over it. Like, we didn't know why. We didn't try it ourselves, but he was Craigasming over that shit. And then like a few days later, I tried it myself, and I made a YouTube video entirely for my reaction to just how broken it is, because it was hilarious trying that for the first time. I was not ready to feel that movement.
No one's ready the first time you ever try Fight Gem.
Yeah,
it was really funny.
When did this happen again?
This was like
late
2017, like
okay.
August or
yeah,
September.
I guess around October-ish.
After the relay for sure.
Okay,
at least I think, yeah.
Yeah, and, definitely after the relay, because at that time we were still doing no Wondermail Sky.
So I think Halq got like a 540 or something using golden seeds and just like some standard Wondermails that didn't change the game too much. So like still a good time. And then I decided to try my first Fight Gem run. I think at that time my PB was like right around the 6-hour mark or something. And then I was on like 5:35 pace, which would have been WR, but I was not good at the game yet. And I totally threw it on Dialga. So then that was when Halq was like, "Oh my god, the fight gym is so broken." Like Halq was so happy with the 540, so he was like, "What the fuck?" When I was about to beat it, when I still sucked at the game.
Yeah.
So he immediately was like, "Okay, I'm getting another WR."
That's really interesting. I've looked back at my VODs and I'm like, I don't know why I'm so like excited about this 540. Like I'm never gonna beat it, and then I just beat it by 13 minutes. Like I didn't realize I didn't use fight gem in that run.
Yeah, that was a no fight gem run. I remember that well. I was really pissed, but I kind of regret being that pissed because I know now I just really sucked back then. Like I threw
after the 527, which was I think maybe like a day or two later. There were people in chat at the time that were kind of it's hard to explain, but like feeling like I had stolen something from you because that would have been your first Skyworld record, I believe, at that time.
Yeah, it would have been. So people felt bad for me.
Yeah, they felt bad, but like it was turned into like vilification of me, and that you can see at the end of my run if you go back and watch it. Like I just don't care. Like there's no emotion at all, even though I've just beaten my own run by 13 minutes. Yeah, and that was just kind of like that was just kind of like the beginning of like me just kind of making my way out. My initial retirement from PMD.
Yeah, like my as pissy as I was back then. Although I think I tried to stay quiet, but still like people were like, "Damn, that was almost cheeses."
That was at least the end of caring about getting world records, like in trying to optimize games for me.
Well, I mean, it looks like this was still done on DS, right? So where you guys?
Oh, that was
Wii U. Oh, okay.
Wii U was actually the only console I had for Sky, and I started by potato camming that too, I think. But I did eventually get a shitty capture card. But okay, I just wanted to talk about how the 527 happened, just because that was when we started using Wh0misDS, and that was
I didn't realize until after you explained that I kind of completely did that at a service. I was like, yeah, I just kind of got that, and then you were like, well, this is exactly how it went, and I forgot a lot of those steps, to be honest. Like
I'm fascinated by what happened in Sky Wh0misDS because there were like several different items that changed the meta.
And then right as I got my 527, I think maybe like a couple weeks later, I was looking through the item list, and I noticed that the weather band, the Bulbapedia description for the weather band is it treats the user as if it is always in clear weather. And the fight gems description is when the user is in clear weather, their movement speed is doubled. Or if they're a fighting type Pokemon. So I was like, well, wait a minute. This and this.
Right. The first time I ever did it, we already had the weather band strats. Forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think after... I don't remember if Halq got a 526 or if it was Wh0m.
Okay. I was actually out of state. I was visiting somebody, and I looked at my phone and I see the Discord screenshot of the 526. Or he beat me just barely.
Yeah, it was within the same minute.
I remember you commenting, Halq, that you saw a screenshot from Wh0m come up as a notification on your phone, because back then, maybe you still do, you had notifications on your phone for every message in the Discord because it was quieter back then. And as soon as you saw that, you were like, oh, fuck. That was in the
like, there's nothing I could do about it because I was out of state and I was sitting in an Airbnb and I just look at my phone and I'm like, well, shit, next week when I get home, maybe I'll do something about that, but not right now.
Yeah, after the weather band and fight gem, I made a guide because I wanted to see Wh0m speedrun Sky. And then I did a race with him and kind of walked him through it. And that was an epic race because we were both on WR pace in Temporal Tower. But I think I died or something.
Did you die? No, I think you just had a lot of monster houses. I remember you said you had like 3 or something in Spire.
Maybe.
Because we were neck and neck going in there. Yeah, that definitely could have gone either way there. That was a very close one.
And then was there anything else with Sky in that year?
I mean, that's how Wh0m got into it. Like she's made the guide specifically.
Yeah, that was
well, yeah, my guide was a lot shittier back then. Like a lot shittier.
I think Wh0m got the record for Sky. Yeah, it was February of 2018. Yeah, okay. I was at an event called Frostbite 2018 in Michigan. And that's when I checked my phone and I saw that. So it beat my run by 42 seconds, which in a 6-hour run is really not a lot of time.
Yeah.
But we've seen Gates world record beat by less time than that. It's crazy.
That was Wh0m's very first Sky run, but clearly, like, even though he didn't have experience with fight gem, but he knew how it would work because he was using agility on Articuno and all icons. So he had a lot of prior BRT experience to carry him. And then Something else funny to talk about with the earlier fight gem runs was I remember I was thinking of it as being way too reckless to use the fight gem in all the dungeons that we had escorts like Grovile and Celebi. So like back then we didn't have baller strats or anything like that. It was just we always gold seeded Riolu, always gold seeded the partner, and back then it was like you were crazy if you took fight gem into places like Dusk Forest. So I think that was how it slowly got
Cheese
more
would
developed.
deposit his fight gem. And I believe there may have been some horror stories about people getting the fight gem knocked off of them in Chasm Cave. I don't think that's ever happened to me, but I know there definitely people.
You might be thinking of the mobile scarf bullshit, actually.
Was it the mobile scarf?
You can't get
a lot
gem.
later.
Yeah.
You can't get the fight gem knocked
Right, because
off.
you're not holding it. That's right.
Mhm.
But
And actually, I'm looking at the sheet, and right after the Sky Wondermill run was when the Great Beauty 4 happened, I think.
Yeah, should we talk about the
absolutely.
the D4?
Let's talk about the Great
Yeah.
Badoo 4.
That was something.
So this is where Jay comes into the picture. Roll, he came in sort of before this, right?
Yeah, we
But-
talked about Jay in one of our previous episodes that he came from the PMD Circle Jerk community.
Mhm.
After I had entered and kind of made peace and made friends with them all, he was like, "Man, this looks really cool. I'm gonna give it a try," and then he did. And yeah, I think how long was this? The BD4 lasted let's see.
It was like
2 weeks.
Actually, no, it was like wait, actually when so yeah, no, it lasted kind of a while, I think. Technically over the course of a couple months. I'm trying to see where my 24 was.
Yeah, the last record I see from Jay was February 24th, 2018.
Yeah, so I
24 was-
got my 24 on March 30th. I think I had taken a break and came back to it, but
Mhm.
yeah, no, there was a good like couple months where we were going back and forth when it came to it.
How
I
did
guess
this start,
most of it
though?
was in a month.
How did this all start? Yeah.
I guess it started with Jay had all of the special episode records at the time. So for me, like when I was going into Sky initially, I was like, okay, I want to start with a shorter category. And so I figured I'll just start with the first special episode. So I started with Bidoof's Wish, and I guess I got a 26-23, and that was the record at the time. And then I like improved it a little bit by getting a sub 26, just barely with like 25-56. And then the next day, Jay got a 25-49.
Okay.
And so then I started like grinding a little bit. So a couple days later, I got a slightly improved 25-45. A couple days later, Jay got a 25-35. And then when was it? I think I had just barely gotten like a 25-29. Yeah. I got a 25-29, and then a couple days later, Jay got a 25-15, and I think that's where it stood for a while. Because like, dang, that means like we're getting very close to like the sub 25 milestone. This is pretty close. And then it took a lot of grinding before I finally got like the first ever sub 25, and that run was quite something. Because especially back in 2018. Like a record like that was pretty good because execution from all of us was like, it was getting there, but it was definitely not where we have it today.
It's worth noting as well with BD's Wish that it's the first 12 minutes is entirely cutscene.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't believe you grinded that shit.
Yeah, I ended up having a timer on those streams where it was like there was essentially a second timer that counted down from 12 minutes to the 0 for it to like start. So
you spent whole ass days on that, like over and over again. Like this was a legitimate grind, and I don't know how you tolerated it.
Yeah, I would not be able to do it anymore. Back then, I think it was because there was just like there was a lot less that I was grinding, and my aspirations were also a lot better back then. So I could dedicate myself to longer grinds, and even during those grinds, I was still having like a lot more fun with it, being able to actually like, there was some light at the end of the tunnel. So like regardless of whether I was grinding for a long time, I had the time, I had the motivation, and I was able to like really push back then. So that's why I was able to do well then.
I think that was also when people really started like hanging out in your Twitch channel too.
Yeah,
for a while, like for your whole
when I got affiliate.
Yeah, for your whole BRT career, it was kind of dead for both of us for the most part during that time. And then like it started to pick up in 2018 for both of us. That was when we both got affiliate.
Beef Swish was the key, apparently.
Were there any other contenders in that, by the way? Like, or was it just you and Jirachi?
At that time, it was just us. Okay. Yeah, there was nobody else doing it.
I think Sniper Wave was. I don't remember if Sniper Wave was doing runs actually.
I don't remember if he was doing it then, because he did eventually get into it, but I don't remember if it was during that time. Yeah, I think it was just us. Okay. Yeah, and then once I got the 2435, that's when the category just died for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently that's 3 years old now.
Damn.
Yeah, and that run never got beaten until Secure got like started working on the category and got like a lower 24, I think fairly quickly, and then eventually worked down to like 24, like a low 24, very low 24.
Wait, where's this 2401? I only see 2435.
It's still, I've uploaded it to my YouTube, but I haven't published it because I'm so backlogged on my PBs and records.
So am I.
Like, I still have, like, I have not uploaded my typing adventure record or my Detective Pikachu record.
He's drowning from success, guys. You know,
suffering from success.
No, I am suffering from the amount of schoolwork I have to do. I only barely have enough time to do new Snap anymore. It's the main reason why I've like stopped most of my streaming, is just because I have just like a bunch of projects that I'm working on now.
Third year of university onward. That was when it got rough for me.
So, do you want to touch on Cheez for a little bit? Because he's just been kind of sitting here in the background, like he's mentioned in a couple stories.
We should. Go for it. We should backtrack.
Backtrack. We go back in time to my entrance.
Yeah, go back in time to that.
Normally, whenever we get a submission on the leaderboards where it's a name we've never heard before and it's a ridiculous time, it's immediately written off as a fake submission or cheating or somebody just kind of trolling. Usually, it's just a troll submission. But he had a very, very descriptive submission text along with it.
Yeah, so, I was personally afraid that would happen with my first submitted run because it ended up being WR and because it ended up being only my first submitted run.
And we knew that we didn't verify it for a long time because somebody was going to have to sit down and watch the entire thing. And that's 6.5 hours. And the mod just didn't have the time for a while. I don't even know who ended up verifying it.
Let's see. It's still the record for 3DS, I think. Yeah, it's actually still there. It's the old 3DS record, 626, verified by Cobrawl 2 days after submission, actually.
Was it only 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days.
Like a month.
But like back then, there were runs were barely submitted, so it was actually kind of slow by the standards at that time.
That may have been the only run sitting in the entire queue of the PMD series. But essentially, the way we'd been doing Super, we covered it in the last episode briefly, I think. We use Cobral's route of Riolu Chespin, where you give Riolu a low sweep TM, and you just hope for the best. And it made me honestly dislike the game, and I lost so many runs. And I only ever finished like 1 or 2 runs on that route. So just to see this person come in with a brand new route and completely fresh, it completely rejuvenated it for me. So Cheez, how did you find out about PMD speedrunning? What made you get into it, and what made you want to optimize Super?
Okay, so we're gonna go way back. So I just really genuinely loved Super Mystery Dungeon that much, and back then, I guess this is still to this day, I only played so many video games, and I just loved mastering the hell out of those video games when I would play them. So I was a big fan of doing challenge runs of my games. Like I would do no upgrade runs of Mega Man X and stuff. I loved minimalistic runs and all that kind of thing. And even with Super, I did empty bag percents casually, where I entered every dungeon without items to see if I could survive. And that was really all I could come up with for challenge runs with Super, besides some fooling around in post game as well. And then after that, I was like, well, the only thing left to try is speedrunning, which I had never done before. but I figured there wasn't too much else I could think of for super, so I figured I'd take on the ultimate challenge. So around January 2017, I started actually messing around with different starters. I think I looked at the world record on YouTube by Cobral and saw the Riolu chestspin, and I could see that chestspin was good, but I just immediately knew that the Riolu was terrible.
Okay, yeah.
I just knew.
So
I was
bad.
like, why the, besides the parahaxing on Force Palm, so I was just messing with all sorts of different starters. I also had a very unique take at this time where I actually really didn't like that Wondermail was used, and I was doing exclusively no Wondermail routing at first. And I was all the starter pairs I tried kind of felt the same or not that special either, and I was kind of stuck for a long time. And then after a certain point, I did decide to try Wondermail codes to make things a little bit more open, because I really wasn't too sure what my options were beyond like Chestspin, Tepig, and Turtwig. Those were the only good three I knew about because of Flamethrower, Razor Leaf Power, and Chestspin still having the multi-hit moves. He was still decent. And then finally I noticed like Totodile had a really high attack stat, like I think one of the highest in the game. He just didn't have moves. Like his attacking moves that were physical were Ice Fang and Bite. Good luck, have fun. And then his only ranged move was Water Gun, which did piss damage with his special attack and low base power. But the Waterfall TM that I could Wondermail in was really, really solid. And similarly for Pikachu, I tried Wondermailing in a Thunder TM. That also gave him a lot of power. And lo and behold, I try this Waterfall on Totodile also in tandem with Swords Dance, and these two Furfrou in the beginning of Foreboding Forest that I usually always have to use a Petrify Orb on. I just didn't think there was another reasonable way to deal with them. I just tried one-shotting them with Totodile and it worked, and I was shitting bricks. Because usually
Furfrou has some kind of ability that heavily negates the damage it takes from physical attack.
Fur coat.
It's called Fur Coat.
Yeah, they have Fur Coat, and then those Furfrou in particular have a lot of health. I want to say it's like 25 to 30. So they were not meant to be fought. Literally, the game tries to tell you, hey, here's a Petrify Orb, now use it. As a warning for how difficult the game gets. It's like, use items in difficult situations or you will die, and then they throw you in a situation immediately. But I learned that I could brute force that with Totodile, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good.
It's absolutely less than 30 because the current strat is to blast one them.
Okay. But still, like, I couldn't kill them with anything else. Most things would deal like 10 damage. Even Tepig's Flamethrower is, I think, barely a 2-shot, but Totodile
it just happens to work with Totodile 3 times Swords Dance. It's great.
Oh yeah, that video, the video of the actual WR is so old. And actually, I guess now is when I talk about my jank recording situation, because I had, back when I was doing all this work, all these practice runs, I had no connection to the community at all. And also I started messing with the game when I was in university still, so I didn't have a lot of time. I could definitely not do full runs. Instead, what I would do was, like, for about an hour a day before going to bed, I would just boot the game up, play whatever hour of the game that I was in, save and quit, go back to it the next day. Once I'd beat a run, I'd try a different starter pair. I did that for a long time. And that was all I had. I couldn't record runs. I had no idea how I would do it. I wasn't talking to the community at all because I didn't know where to reach them. I knew nothing about speedrunning. No idea where to start.
Help you anyway, because none of us really.
Yeah, if
you already, like, with what your routine was, you already had more knowledge than the entire community combined.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't enter the community until I got WR, actually, because I think you guys would have laughed at me. So I guess it worked out.
I mean, until you had beaten Cobral's time, I've been like, yeah, go ahead, go try it. Let us know how it works out. Like,
maybe.
I don't think anybody would have taken it seriously until that day would have come, and it did come. So
yeah, so I was trying all these different pairs, and then eventually, once I was done with that semester of university and I was on like a summer break, that was when I finally started thinking, okay, how do I do a full run and record it? And I knew I had the potato cam because emulation, and I didn't even think there was an emulator for 3DS. I had no idea how I could get a 3DS capture card at the time, and I didn't have the funds for it, even if I could. So I just brought out my cell phone and tried figuring out how I could record the screen with that. And I think initially I was having recording issues because my cell phone was recording at too high of a resolution and too high of a bit rate, and there literally was not enough memory on that thing for it.
Oh yeah.
So I had like one not full run recording failure, but I think I did like an hour run, and even that didn't save. So I was like, shit. So I then had to start messing around with like different bit rates. Eventually I figured out how to make my phone at least record the whole video, but I had to have my phone not record the audio in order to have memory for the video of the entire run. And this is also why the recording is so shit quality. And then I think I downloaded Audacity to record my audio on my laptop, and then I didn't know about live split at all. I just Googled speedrun timer, and it only really showed me WSplit. And then I had to get software to screen cap that as well. And I wasn't even too sure of how I was going to get the video on my computer, actually. I think at one point I was trying some setup where I had like a webcam app on my phone, and I was trying to stream the potato cam to my computer and then screen cap that potato cam. Not only was the frame rate god awful, but this also didn't work because the program I was using to screen capture wasn't OBS. It was something else much shittier that I don't remember the name of. And that program also had issues with files that were too large. So I had a lot of...
It was terrible, but it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't even work. So I had like 2 or 3 full runs that went completely unrecorded that were with Tepig and Turtwig that I think were no wonder mail. So I was... And that was how I ended up only submitting a WR run. Like, I was trying. I just literally had no idea what the hell I was doing, and I couldn't successfully get a full recorded run for the life of me.
What exactly was it about? Just a question that it doesn't end up being about the record. What was it about Turtwig that gave you like confidence? Because from what I've seen of Turtwig, it's a little bit of a taboo in Super. Like,
yeah, I think it was just because he had a good physical attack stat, and Razor Leaf was like decent with its base power plus the high crit rate. Mm-hmm. And the best part was that was a ranged move, and I really, really valued ranged moves for safety. Like, that was one of the issues I had with the older route, was how you had to get in everything's face. A bit ironic that I say that, but I'll elaborate on that more. But when I was playing, I pretty much always relied on ranged moves for combat for safety, and wands and rooms. So having a strong ranged move like that was my sell point on Tepig and Turtwig. Until I tried Waterfall and Thunder and realized how much stronger it was, and I tried Wonder Mailing and Life Seed so I could tank hits in the face so that it didn't bother me that I didn't have ranged moves. Which, luckily, my first full run of trying that was also the first fully successfully recorded run, and that was when I got the 626. It just happened to be WR. I didn't think that was even going to be WR because a lot of the runs I did, I was getting really shit on. Like, I would get so many bad stair floors. I genuinely think my luck was worse back then than I complain about it being to this day. Because I remember remarking in that older run, that 626 that isn't even that good anymore. I was like, God damn it, this run was so lucky. I never thought this would happen. Holy shit. I just thought I couldn't do much better than like a 640, and then
because all you're trying to do is sit there and commentate and talk about your strats. Because throughout the run, you do talk about like why you do certain things.
Yeah, I figured that wasn't.
As you're doing that, you're just sitting there like making history.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd get WR, but I knew for a fact that the pair I found was optimal. I just didn't think I'd be able to get WR with it. So at the time, my goal was just to show you guys the strats and hope that you guys would give them a shot and try to improve the game with it. And then I ended up actually getting WR, which made it very clear that it was optimal.
Now, one aspect about this that was mentioned briefly is that this was done on a original 3DS. Super, as well as many 3DS games that were released late in its lifespan, actually process faster on the new 3DS console. So he had beaten a console that maybe saves like 4 minutes or more. I don't know how much it saves with a shittier console. Just by route alone, really, truly just with the route.
I completely forgot about that. That's right. Cobra was on new 3DS with NTR viewer. That was another disadvantage I had to face.
Right. It's a massive disadvantage for sure. I don't even know how much it saves, but
yeah, my guess is like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't think I'd beat it. And you guys, you were talking about how shocked you were when you saw that submission. I don't think you had ever really heard about the story before that, how I was messing around for like an entire year.
No, I hadn't heard that yet. So I don't know if I picked up on it immediately.
You did.
I think you might have posted your guide first, and then I tried it after that, because I think the guide came out shortly after your run.
Oh yeah, so I posted the run. I still wasn't even in the Discord when I submitted the run, so you guys had no clue who the hell I was. I found the Discord link on speedrun. I think it was on speedrun.com. I found it somewhere after submitting that run, and finally I got in contact with you guys. And then I started writing up the guide for the route because I figured that nobody would want to watch that whole ass run just to learn the route, and I needed to document it. And I had time to do it because I had like one more semester of college left that I just had to take one class for because something got fucked up with my credits. So I spent like a lot of that semester getting into the community in 2017 and started writing guides from there in my spare time. And as soon as I published the guide for Super, that was when Halqery and JuiceboxCommando immediately had a race. And they saw my Wondermail codes and were like, what the fuck? He only uses 2 Reviver Seed codes? This guy's insane.
We were using the entire like arsenal of Reviver Seeds.
You can get like 50 Reviver Seeds from Wondermail codes, but I was playing in the no Wondermail style, so I learned how to do things safely and relatively optimally. So I only needed like a couple sets of revives just for playing a little more reckless. But I had no idea how you guys were going to play. You guys were like mega reckless.
Okay, so I picked up on it kind of soon, maybe like a month after you posted yours, and I got a 638 with the Totodile Pikachu route. My best time before that was 6:53:23 with a weird Chimchar route that I don't understand why I went for. 6:53:23 with Chimchar and Chespin.
Funny you say that because I still want to try that for no Wondermail.
Yeah. So then I give Cheese's strats a try, and then I get that 638 on September 24th, and then 5 days later on September 29th, not only did I break the sub 620 barrier, I actually just very narrowly broke the sub 610 barrier and PB'd by more than almost 30 minutes. I got a 609.51.
This became a war.
And at this time, I will admit I was a little bit brash, a little bit hard to deal with. And I think when I did my final split, I had giant white text on the screen that just said, "This game sucks."
Like, yeah, you hated. You had a lot of hate.
Just from pent up frustration with the game over the years or over the months of running it, like before the route. It wasn't the route's fault. I was already poisoned by by what I was forced to do before.
Yeah, like I get it. Like not only were you using a way harder route, but also your playstyle was basically straight out of Explorers of Sky. Like that was how you were trying to play the game.
When I first started playing Super, I just tried to hold W, because that's what you do in Explorers of Sky, and it works out. But you cannot hold W in Super Mystery Dungeon. The game will not let you. You actually just fail, and it's humbling. It really is. So, like, you just have to kind of sit down and kind of force yourself to not do these stupid things.
Yeah. When I said it was a war, I wasn't even referring to that whole thing. What I was referring to was the WRs the two of us were getting. Because holy shit.
Yeah, then Cheese got the first sub 6 not too long later. It was a couple months later, I think.
Yeah, so we went from a 526 to fucking 609.
626 to 609, yeah.
Oh yeah, 626 to 609. So I was like, holy shit. But that also inspired me. I was like, damn, maybe sub 6 is possible. And I remember saying that in your chat, and you were like, no way. And then we had a race. And
literally exactly a month later, Cheese gets a 5:57.24.
And I finally got NTR Viewer. Oh my god, this was an endeavor too. So I finally got a new 3DS. I got custom firmware on it, which back then was a pain in the ass. I had to basically steal my brother's 3DS account because he had like an older version of the system so that I could get custom firmware for free without having to buy something, I think. Or actually, I think I did have to buy something still. It was awful. You had to like download a game. So I did finally get NTR Viewer working on a new 3DS, so I had like fair competition at least. And that combined with seeing Halq's playstyle and seeing some of the ways I could play better made an enormous difference for me. And I suddenly PB'd by an entire goddamn half hour.
Same. So same. Like just instantly, like we both PB'd by like a half hour. And Cheese's run lasted quite a long time. It lasted 48 whole hours. Halloween, I got a 5:51. 08, and that ended up being my PB until like earlier this year.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to beat that 551 because I remember gritting my teeth watching that run because you were still like kind of pissing on the game and you got wand expert like every dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I was so pissed. I could not beat that RNG. I had to beat that with skill much later down the road, but in the meantime the best I could pull was a 554, so that was where super ended.
And the interesting thing is, according to the sheet that Whom provided, that record was not beaten by you. That record was actually beaten by Pestilent Box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
In 2018. I don't think we've talked about him at all, like even for a moment on the podcast.
Yeah, he came after our war. And he came during a dark time too. I forgot actually. I don't know if I want to talk about the way I did initially beat the 551. I don't know if I want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, okay. We can talk about it since nobody's gonna do it. Since it's not even optimal anymore.
Yeah, actually, okay.
Yeah, I doubt it would be optimal now. With people already getting like sub 530, I don't see it.
I think it's poetic and it's beautiful, honestly, that the entire community of Super Mystery Dungeon speedrunners have decided this thing sucks. We don't want to grind for it, so let's just not use it. Let's delete all of our times. And let's never speak of this ever again.
I begged everybody because I knew it would kill the game because it was so bad.
Cheez, would you like to explain what this item is and how you acquire it?
All right, people that haven't heard this story but know about a certain item that I consistently hate in PMD, you're not going to be surprised. It's the warp looplet.
Oh, okay.
The warp looplet. And literally, I didn't want to talk about this for a long time, but it doesn't matter anymore. So the way to get a warp looplet in Super Mystery Dungeon was you had to save up 3,000 poke and then buy a Sand Continent pass from Kecleon in order to go to the Sand Continent, where you could then get to a shop that mainly sold looplets and TMs. And you couldn't even get there until like after Mystical Forest. So literally you couldn't get there until halfway past the run itself. And that alone was shit. So that meant like 3 hours in, you had to play the game. And then there was only a chance you'd even ever get the looplet before the next dungeon, Fire Island Volcano. You'd only get like a couple shop checks to get it. And then if you didn't get it, it was just reset. So that alone was fucking atrocious. Just imagine playing for 3 hours before having to reset. Like nobody wanted to do that.
Yeah.
After literally for RNG,
like after we all tried, we all lost a run to it at some point, and then we all felt that same feeling of holy shit, this is really depressing.
I don't believe I ever did a run of it. I may be mistaken though.
Okay, well I know it was Pest and I even remember Juicebox watching and commenting like how much he noticed it depressed me from otherwise loving the game so much. I originally thought to try this on like an airplane ride home from Arizona. I was like, warp looplet, that sounds spicy in this game. I had no idea what I was doing. If the first run I tried with it, I got it no problem, and I thought it was just high odds to get it because I didn't think it was a problem. But then later on I realized how RNG it was. But not only was it RNG to acquire, but then also because of how fast the warp animations are in Super and how slow combat was and how we didn't have any like off-screen battles happening at that time, literally as soon as you got the warp looplet, you didn't need to do shit anymore. It was literally just sit there and roll the dice in every single dungeon. It was so broken, but it was so stupid in that game.
Very, very brain dead.
I instantly got WR with it, to which Jay's response was to post the meme of, we have reached the point where we should stop, but let's keep going anyways. Okay, I better shut up and let Whom talk some more. I'm sorry, Whom.
No, that's all right. So, because Whom has to leave kind of soon, so I'm trying to think what, I don't know. I almost want to just jump straight to like 2018, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about in specific.
At this point, Whom had already kind of completed a takeover of BRT. He already branched off into the sky. And it wasn't really clear when and if he would even tackle the 3DS games. Until I think it was 2018, like you said, that he tried. Did you do Gates to Infinity first? I believe you did.
Yeah, I definitely did Gates first, because the reason why I did my first ever Gates run was because you actually had a sub goal to do Gates to Infinity into an all icons Blue Rescue Team run, no QS, no Wonder Mail.
And you wanted to do it with me.
And yeah, like the sub goal was like I would join you if it was there, and then it got met, and so we did that, and that was an interesting 24 hours.
Was that the race you did where you still beat me even though you left for like 30 minutes to go do an escape room?
So that was the run where you got the gates record, and in the middle of my first ever gates run, I had to do an escape room, so I left for genuine like an hour and a half or something, and I ended up with like a 10.5 hour time or something, which I mean, considering that's not too bad. It was very weird, and then I think I technically ended up winning overall because I just knew all icons.
You were so much better BRT than me,
yeah. So I just caught up.
I don't think I ever submitted that time, so I think that is better than the time I have on the all icons leaderboards. But then like after you did that initial gates run, did you like want to optimize it immediately, or was it just something that kind of sat there?
I honestly don't remember, because I remember now that I had it, I was like, okay, now I can maybe potentially like do some runs. I'm trying to remember when we did. Oh, okay.
We did another race later on. But I think between any kind of series race or anything like that, we did another race where the world record was still 9:30 or 8:32 or something by me, where both of us had actually beaten it, but you won the race, so you ended up having the world record at that point. It was a very, very narrow margin, I think, and I don't think I ever submitted that time, just because I was like, "What's the point?" My placement doesn't change on the leaderboards. Why bother?
Yeah, that yeah. I remember I had
that was the
that
last time I had record since until like a couple weeks ago. Gates any percent.
Fun fact, if it wasn't mentioned, who went back to Potato Cam for Gates for a bit too?
Did you really?
Yeah, because for Gate, like I didn't have a 3DS capture card,
right?
So I think I'm trying to remember what the order of this was, because there was part of it where I was playing on 3DS with Potato Cam, and then part of it where I was playing on Citra, and so it was like a weird combination of the two. Because I must have done that first. I must have done it on 3DS first, because I didn't have a time yet, and then I played it on Citra to have the better like capture quality for the series race, and that's when I had gotten like my initial 8:17 or something PB, which was not a good run, but I think it was just really helped by Citra, and that's when we realized like, oh yeah, okay, Citra's definitely faster. And it fell into like the same kind of weird state as NTR Viewer for Gates, where
I think for the series
race
we told you that you had to play at 95% speed on Citra.
Yep, that's what you did. And you still had like a 10-minute penalty after that, anyways, because it was still fast as hell.
Yeah. But I think what's interesting to note is the Gates world record that Who mentioned that I got during our Gates plus all icons run. I beat Cobral's run by 3 seconds.
Yeah.
In a 8-hour run, 3 fucking seconds. That's the amount of time it takes to open up a menu and close it, my guy. Yeah. Like it's ridiculous how close these runs can be. Like when there's just so much. Like there's so much in the game you have to do. And then Whom actually got that record for Gates 2 months later. So my run was May 13th, 2018. His was July 8th, 2018.
And I don't think you even really dabbled in Super that much, right? Up until like 2019, maybe, sort of.
Probably not, because because the only time I ever did Super was specifically for the series race for a long time. And then eventually I got a cart for it, and that's when I started to like properly do runs, and that was
actually in preparation for another series race, but you did put it. You got a good grind going for No Wonder Mail, and you like completely kicked my ass at it.
Yeah, that No Wonder Mail grind was pretty fun, and then that's like when we were starting to like compete for the No Wonder Mail record for a while. Although I guess that was quite down the line.
Yeah, that's a lot later. I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. But I know you don't have like you got like 3 minutes left now, right? So I guess
Yeah.
last thing I'll ask you is what
When you come back,
development when are you coming back? Sure. And then what development in which game, or I would assume maybe BRT, that you're most proud of? Like what do you think you came up with that sort of, or even just what run really kind of set the tone and was something you really were happy you achieved?
Well, there's certainly specific runs that I'm really proud of. I don't know if I can really take credit for a lot of things routing wise, because I always do like a couple of small things just to make it like more reasonable for myself. I rarely ever make like really big routing changes. But I'd say like the runs that were probably the most notable were like the 153.52 all the way back in 2017 for the like unrestricted category in BRT, because that run, yeah, like that was probably my favorite run for a long time because that was just insane. Like I finally got a run with like the new Warp Scar strats and it just blew everything out of the water. I had so much good stairs luck. Yeah, it was just a really good run that really just gets beaten nowadays due to better execution and definitely like easily 3 minutes saved by strats. And then I mean, I guess for no QS, no Wonder Mill, it doesn't seem like much anymore, but back when I had the 234.57 into like the All Icons record as well, because that run, that was like when I stopped BRT for a long time, because like that was like I'd finally gotten double chestnut for like one of a couple times ever by that point, because I got so many BRT records without double chestnut, and like finally I got like a decent run that had double chestnut, broke like sub 235, and that's I figured like that's probably as far as I'll go. I think really nobody was even near that like on any of the boards. I had like a 12-minute lead over, actually no, it's probably like 10 because Cheese had a 244 at the time.
It's very
you've always been really ahead in BRT to
it's
this
very
day.
comparable to when M Bison had that 249.07 when the previous record was just nothing even fucking close.
Like honestly, if I never beat that time without double chestnut, just kind of randomly, it would have been difficult for me to like get into a proper grind. But then once I realized, oh shoot, okay, I can definitely go a lot further than this. And then frustration strats came out, for better or for worse, which has definitely helped me go like a lot further. And I still want to push it at some point. It's just tough for me to like get into the grind mentality that I had before. So I guess that's the main thing. I mean, Sky, I think it's obvious that like the sub 5 run was easily my most influential.
That
one was something, because I was prepared to go on a very long grind to go for it, and
literally
getting
a day.
That Spire was just very, very needed.
There's a recurring trend where like I would break a record with new strats, and then like 2 days later, who would beat it with those strats? Although that one there were no strats, it was just execution and luck.
Yeah, it was. Well,
that was a fun one.
I guess in that sense, you're free to go now.
I'm sorry I ate up like half your time, Whom.
Also, that's fine. We definitely need to talk about the super stuff as well, since I don't know as much about that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you joining. It was fucking great having you.
Me too.
And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short intermission, and then we'll be right back. So yeah, thanks, Whom. Okay,
we're good now. All right, so we're going to start with Sky, then I'll go around other games. Let me pull that board up. So where did we leave off with Sky? It was Whom's 526. That was his first run.
Yeah, we didn't really
get back to like the sub 5 and shit. All right, let me bring up filter, hidden old runs. All right, what can bring back memories here? So I don't actually remember what times were gotten with different items, but I know we left off with like Weather, Looplet, and Fight Gem in Sky. Weather loop, weather band, my bad. And we left off like not actually splitting up with Grobile in every dungeon unless you were a baller, which I believe Halq was the main advocate of that. I remember when I had a series race with Halq, Lycanoob, and Fretzy, which turned into just Halq and I bonding for 24 hours. That was like Halq's time save over me when we got to Sky with Wondermail. He was just like, fuck it, I'm fight gemming every single dungeon. So there was that development where it eventually just became the norm to do that, just fight gem every dungeon and just tank the reviver seeds that you would lose.
Right.
And then I think the next item that we would throw into the mix would be goggle specs.
Yeah, so how did that happen?
This happened entirely because there was a brief craze of racing Sky Randomizer. Like this was around when like we had Aquana and SPR and a few other guys in the community. We were just having a whole bunch of like dick around fun races, and we liked doing rando.
Was this before the first rando tournament? Or after?
I can't remember. It had to have been after, I think.
I can look on challenge actually.
Oh no, the first rando tournament was before, because that was actually before Wh0m was running Sky.
Okay.
So that was making the Sky guide while that tournament was happening, actually. I remember now.
Gotcha.
And that was actually that series race with Halq and that rando tournament was how SPR got into the community and how he became the prediction god. That's funny community history. Where we had predictions for the bracket for that tournament, and SPR's prediction was ominously perfect.
Yeah.
And then moving on. So we were doing just fun old any percent rando races with like the old school randomizer, and I got goggle specs in one of those races, and that was when I found out that they reveal hidden stairs, and I was like, oh my god, we need to do this in the vanilla game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that came from, and immediately I think Wh0misDS started getting some WRs with that, or actually
something I needed to mention or even just ask was when you were making the original guide that got Wh0m into Sky, what was the partner starter duo? Was it Cynical, or were we still on Vulpix?
That had to have been with Cynical partner back then.
Okay, do you know how Cynical got involved? Because
I think it was still left over from Canis Saboru pointing out to us that Lava Plume was really strong in the Dusknoir fight.
Oh, okay.
That's right. The community was locked on to Riolu Cyndaquil for the longest time, and I could not for the life of me convince other people to try other stuff.
Because I thought we swapped from Cyndaquil to Vulpix to Cyndaquil to Vulpix. Or
Vulpix partner was used sometime before I was in the community.
Okay, yeah.
It was mainly like if you wanted to be safe, you played Vulpix. If you wanted to go you play risky, high risk, high reward, you'd play Cyndaquil.
Okay.
But by the time I got to the community, nobody wanted to try anything but Riolu Cyndaquil. Like nobody wanted to try anything.
Gotcha.
This actually reminds me of how I first got into Sky. After I was done with Super, I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's try a different game. I was doing Sky Wondermail runs with like my own weird ass Super Mystery Dungeon based strats where literally I had Totodile with Waterfall and Surf and was trying to one shot everything without linked moves. Because I hated linked moves when I started speedrunning Sky. I hated them.
Now, don't take this the wrong way, but I was watching that and I was just like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
No, moves.
Yeah, that was my Super Mystery Dungeon strats. I still got a 603 with that, which back then
wasn't bad.
Fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
One of these days I want to run back those strats for the lulz. But yeah, that was how I got into it. So I forgot about that earlier when we were talking about the introduction of Wondermail. And then I started messing with Riolu more. I just hated Riolu because he missed attacks a lot, which I still hate to this day. But yeah, Riolu Cyndaquil, Goggle Specs, Fight Gem, Weather Band, that was the meta for a long time. And then I think Wh0m and I were trading WRs for a while. Well, actually, it was Wh0m, I, and Jay. We were all like kind of on a grind for a sub 520. I remember at some point I got a 520 and I thought that was the best I was going to do, and then Wh0m got it a little lower, and then I got like a 3-minute PB, and then I kind of came to a halt for a while. It looks like later on I got a 512, but this is all kind of foggy.
See, I don't know if Jay ever actually had the record, but he was definitely like a contender for a while.
He was very much a contender. He was on pace many times. Yeah, this whole part's really foggy, actually. So I don't know which of these is actual WRs.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think Jay's ever had the record for a full game run, which is
no. It seems like just special episodes that he's had the record for.
He's always been up there. Like I remember there was one time that he got a really good time in BRT, no quick save, no Wondermill, and he was kind of convinced like he wanted to grind after that. Like his title was like grind for record, come close, I guess. And he just never quite got it.
He was really good at BRT and Sky. We had a lot of funny meme races in BRT because Squirtle would always troll him. Really, both him and I would get trolled by Squirtle a lot.
So when in time did the goggle specs come in? Are we talking like early 2018 or?
It was after I stopped. It might have been like the end of 2017.
Okay.
Like
it had to have been mid 2018, sometime in the middle of 2018 with the randomizer craziness.
Oh, in the middle.
I think somewhere in the middle of 2018 is my guess.
Because what I was going to bring up was, I think Juicy got into the game in 2018 as well, right? Like early 2018.
Yep. It was early 2018. Just started watching Cheez because I mean it was pretty similar to Wh0mis story, where it was like, well, I was watching a GDQ. I don't remember if it was S or A GDQ. And I was like, hey, I could do this. And I was looking into, I actually looked at Borderlands. Nobody actually knows this. I looked at Borderlands games before PMD, but it was just a lot of effectively like the same thing over and over again, which was not really what I was looking for. I was looking at Borderlands specifically because the guns are like random, right?
Right.
But it's really basically just like, okay, well, for Borderlands 2, you get a shotgun, it doesn't matter what kind of shotgun, and you get a Vladoff rocket launcher, it doesn't matter what kind, and then you rebind, you do a glitch that gives the shotgun infinite ammo, and then you rebind shoot to scroll wheel, and then you spin your scroll wheel and hold W, and that's how you speedrun.
Yeah. Okay.
That sounds like PMD more than you may realize. Actually,
that's what I'm saying. It sounds like it was like unintentionally like connected.
Yeah.
Some sort of.
So I went to PMD because it was like my favorite game when I was a kid. Landed on Cheez. He had world record at the time, so that's just whose stream I ended up on. Just based off speedrun.com.
That's lucky considering how rarely I had WR for Wondermill.
Yeah. So I think one of the first things I asked when I got there was like, is there a category where you don't do Wondermill? Because I was of the opinion that Wondermill is basically cheat codes, which I mean, it's like a silly mindset looking back on it, but I still would rather just do no Wondermill. And he was like, yeah, there's no Wondermill category. And I was like, cool. Do you have a guide? And he was like, yep, here it is. The Cliff Notes is play the game and hold B. So I did a casual playthrough. I don't remember if it was last podcast that you brought this up, but Halq actually mentioned Charge Spark Shinx. That was the idea that I had in my casual speed playthrough. I did Charge Spark Shinx. It was like a 9-hour in-game time.
Yeah, that was me trying to revolutionize Sky. All right, by revolutionize I mean not use Pikachu. In 2015, I was like, well, Charge is a move, and then Spark, like, you know, if you use Charge, the next electric type move you use will be double power, so why not just link Charge Spark? And I just never happened to get a run like anywhere reasonable with that.
Dude, it hits like a train, but it just takes so long.
Well, I mean,
Rivalry.
The problem is that Shinx is yet another electric type in a game that is very hated.
I think
really,
I've
really hating
towards enough about how Sky hates electric types, and if I haven't, then I don't know what I've been doing for the last few years.
Well, yeah, I tried to mention this when I asked initially in the last episode, like, why were we using Pikachu when it's so bad? But I mean, if you want,
a question for Cobrawl.
Yeah, it was all Cobrawl as we learned, but I mean, if you want to give the rundown on why it's so bad, go for it.
Yeah, go ahead, Cheez. It's all yours.
You want me to do the Pikachu?
Do you want to just play? Where's the clip? Let's just play the clip.
You want to just link me the clip.
All right. I don't have my chat bot up. Let me see if I can find it myself.
It's so beautifully worded in a moment where he was just very, very angry.
Okay, I haven't searched for a clip on Twitch itself in forever. I don't remember how to do this shit.
It was a highlight, right? Not a clip.
Oh, it is a highlight. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, because I think it was too long to be a clip.
How does anyone find that?
You go to... Okay, I can help you look. Videos, filter by highlights. I'm not hosting the stream.
I have so many highlights in here. Also, there's something I need to make.
While we're looking for this, I'll just finish up my talk about myself because I don't think there's really too much, because I was never like world record contender really. I had world record for Darkrai for a little bit, but that's because that category was so fucked up.
I mean, here you go. I found it, Cheese.
Okay.
In a time where you were doing emulator juice, so like you're kind of the OG emulator guy in a sense.
Yeah. Right? And the thing that I take a lot of pride in personally is I feel like I was the start of not really like the start, but I was the first one outside of Cheese that started preaching use whatever partner you want in Sky. It like literally doesn't matter.
Oh yeah,
as long as it's not like Eevee. Yeah, because I just use Piplup. I like Piplup. So I used him, and I was still doing fine. So I think everybody just saw that and was like, all right.
Yeah, I was going to talk about No Wonder Mail once I was done with Wonder Mail, and then we would have gotten into... There's a lot I have to say about Darkrai No Wonder Mail.
Oh my god.
All right, well,
it looks like we have the clip, though.
Yeah, let me... I screen shared on Discord if you guys want to listen to it as well.
Yep.
And then here it is on the stream.
You would like to hear the Pikachu rant. All right, hey there, Cascadia. You're just in time for the Pikachu rant. All right, so Beach Cave, Mud Sport.
Oh no, what happened?
Oh, you paused.
Drench Bluff, Mud Sport. Mount Bristle, Geodude, Mud Sport. You think you're good against those birds? No, fucking Mud Sport. Waterfall Cave, you think you're good against all those water types? Well, too bad. They put Barboach in there and it has Mud Sport, and they put Wooper in there and it has Mud Shot. And Mud Slap is in there. You think you're fine in Apple Woods? No, there's grass types everywhere. Get out. Then you go to Craggy Coast. You think you're good against the water types? Mud Sport! Gastrodon! Mud Bomb! You go to Mount Horn. You're finally decent for one dungeon. Then you go to Foggy Forest. We put Fog in this dungeon. What does Fog do? It weakens electric type moves. Alright, so then you go to Steam Cave. We have Magnitude here! And Numels. So you go to Am Plains. Alright, you think you'll fit in with all the other electric types. Then you realize they have Lightning Rod. Now you're in Northern Desert. Now there's just grass types and ground types everywhere. Go fuck yourself. Then you go to Crystal Cave. There's rock ground types everywhere. Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
Then you go to Chasm Cave. There's Magnemites there, which are annoying to kill, but I guess that's it. Then you go to Dark Hill. They put Cleanalls in Dark Hill! Then you go to Sealed Ruins. I think Sealed Ruins is one of the okay dungeons, but the Mucks have Mud Bombs, so still fuck you. Then you go to Dusk Forest. There's Gabites! With Sandstorm. And then it's even worse in Deep Dusk, where there's Steelixes and Rhydons, with Lightning Rod. Then you're finally out of the future, into Tree Shroud Forest. There's grass types everywhere. Then the next dungeon in the story is Brine Cave. Oh, you think you're good against all those water types? Fucking Gastrodon with Mud Sport! So then you go to Hidden Land. There's fucking Garchomps. Finally you get to the tower, and at the tower you're finally okay. So there's like two dungeons in the game where Pikachu is okay.
And Cheese doesn't mention it, but those Gastrodons are even worse in Time and Darkness.
Oh yeah.
And when Pikachu is used in Sky, Pikachu is also used in Time and Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And in Time and Darkness, an ability like Lightning Rod affects the entire floor. So, and if there's even a single thing with Lightning Rod, anywhere on the floor, Pikachu's electric types or attacks are completely nullified and worthless.
True.
Yeah, the Gastrodon don't have Lightning Rod. Those actually fuck over. Those fuck over water types, but still, yeah, Lightning Rod is even worse. I also forgot to mention that Temporal Tower does have a lot of steel types, which Pikachu relies heavily on normal type moves. So and then Dialga resists both electric and normal, of course. And then it gets even worse in post game, but I'll save us that.
All right, so that was the end of the rant, right? All right.
Mhm.
So okay. Moving on from that. So yeah, let's get back into the discussion. Fucking where did we leave?
So yeah, I can't tell you why Pikachu was the partner or the starter of choice for so long.
I can only guess that it was Thunderbolt and maybe Agility, but yeah, that's I don't know.
I mean, we went over in the last podcast how it changed, so at least it's no longer the strat.
Okay, I guess going back to Sky Wonder Mail, and don't worry, I'll get back to the no Wonder Mail stuff with Juicebox. So yeah, for the longest time, it was just Riolu Cyndaquil, and I couldn't really get the community off of that. But there was a gradual shift towards, and just use whatever partner. I became a big advocate for Vulpix and Totodile. HgFin started to come around during this time. He started doing his grind and getting his runs, and eventually his own WR. I believe. I know you had the 506. You had the 506 WR. I don't remember if there was one before that.
I had two.
I can't remember the other one. Shit.
I'm pretty sure. It's been too long. I mean, I got in. I was watching Whom. It was like, I'll do it myself. And then my first run was doing it was like May 2018. I did Riolu Cyndaquil. And then that run I also had it was crazy because I had like so many people from the community in there, including Cheez, who was like guiding me through it, you know? And then at the very end of that run, I had like a cockroach in my room that I fucking had to go kill. And I had to let go of the B button, I think, to go do that. And I think I'm looking at the leaderboard right now. My time is still, if you go to view obsolete runs, I have the worst time on the leaderboard still. But I did Cyndaquil with that, and then you were like, hey, you should do Vulpix next run. So I was like, okay, I will. And then I just used that throughout like the rest of the year, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, eventually it looks like, I think you got a 510 WR. That's what
I might have mentioned this in a previous podcast, but I believe there's one run where you might have had like a recording failure or a stream crash. Like in the Hidden Land or Onward.
Yeah, you were there for it we were in the call. Were we doing a race or something?
Mm-hmm. We were doing something.
Okay.
And I had to kind of, so you were like, so is my run invalid? And I was like, yeah, it's invalid. You're like, oh, okay. and I was so worried in that moment that you were gonna quit and never come back. Like, because it takes a lot of mental determination to get over the Hidden Land reset or the Hidden Land run death. I've been through it many times. I'm sure Cheez has been through the Hidden Land run death or Hidden Land or beyond. Fuck Hidden Land.
Which I mean,
it's just something you have to get over, and I'm glad you did get over it because you did end up etching your name into like the books.
Yeah, I don't know when that run happened or what time even it ended up being.
It was like early 2018, I remember.
All I know is like I did my 633 and then I was still getting PBs, but I never submitted a single run until I got like a 519. So
yeah, I really wish we could actually have a competent graph on speedrun.com because I don't remember when the WRs happened.
Yeah.
Oh, we use a Whom sheet and it's pretty good.
Yeah,
oh, that's right. I forgot about that thing. Shit. Okay. I was gonna go by game and category though.
But I do want to talk about.
You can on the bottom bar, you can set it to by category.
Finn's world record, his first world record was December of 2018, but I think we got a little bit more to get through before that.
Yeah, because
we were mentioning Super and we went on the Warp Looplet tangent, but then we all decided to not use Warp Looplet, so my run was still the fastest at that point. And then Pestilent Box came in March of 2018 and beat my record in Super by about a couple minutes, 5:49.46.
We didn't even really get. I mean, we mentioned that we didn't even talk about him. But what was?
There's not really a lot of backstory to Pestilent. He just kind of showed up and started doing runs. Like he didn't really come from anywhere. I think he started with PMD. Nowadays, he's a Hollow Knight speedrunner.
Really good one.
He's one of the best Hollow Knight speedrunners in the world. He's done runs for GDQs.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And he's like I'll never forget my roots. He told me that, so he'll come back at some point.
I just remember I was on vacation in Arizona, and then one day, out of nowhere, in the completely dead Super Mystery Dungeon channel, comes this guy acknowledging my guide and doing his own runs and posting splits, and I was like, "Thank God the game isn't dead." Because after Halq and I were done with it in 2017, like that game just rotted. Like nobody touched it for like a year until Pest came in the Discord, and then he got good fast. I was very impressed, and he also had to do it with Potato Cam, and it was really hard for him to record too.
It was like in some ways more scuffed, in other ways less scuffed. Like the quality was really nice, but the problem was it was like level. It was on the desk and it was pointing at a 3DS. That screen wasn't completely facing the camera, so you kind of had to like look at it like tilted to the side to try to see what was going on. But no, he was fantastic, and I think most of the time he had to play like with the 3DS on the table.
Okay,
If I'm not mistaken, which is ridiculously tough. I believe that's the only quote unquote world record Pestilent Box has ever had.
Besides Warp Looplet, which he and I battled over Warp Looplet for a bit until we both lost runs to it, and we were like, "This is garbage. Can we please remove this?" And then he moved on to Hollow Knight.
I mean, one other question I had about Warp Looplet, since this seems to be the end of that discussion, but did you guys ever consider like legit banning it? Like even just making it public knowledge that
I immediately tried to do that.
Okay.
No, we didn't ever ban it, quote unquote, because like if our philosophy was like as long as we don't talk about it and we don't say its name, it's not real.
Okay,
basically.
Voldemort type
And
shit.
like,
Yeah.
if anybody ever tried to come in the Discord and go like, "Wow, have you guys tried this Warp Looplet?"
Oh, you
like,
ban them.
It sucks.
You ban them. Yeah,
we just ban them on the spot. Yeah.
Luckily, that didn't happen, as far as I'm aware.
You know,
nobody
ever asked, so we didn't.
This reminds me of another important general talking point for the history of PMD, though. So because I tried immediately requesting like a ban on Warp Looplet, like literally any % no Warp Looplet. I immediately was in the leaderboard mod chat, like begging for that, but instead I had to settle for no Wonder Mail, and that was when we got the Wonder Mail split on like every game. Like for a long time it was just any % for every game, and then a post game category for every game, and then like it was just subcategories for like Wonder Mail and
the idea was the only reason you're able to afford anything in Super Mystery Dungeon, any % is because you Wonder Mail and apples to sell. That's the only reason you can afford a single thing. And you're not going to afford a $3,000 Warp Looplet and a no Wonder Mail run, not within any reasonable time frame to go get it.
It'd be hard, so I figured I'd just grind no Wonder Mail. I ended up not liking it that much because I found it to feel much more RNG heavy. But at least it gave me something to do with Super until Warp Looplet was just officially banned. Because there was a while where it was just on the leaderboard and I couldn't convince everybody to get rid of it. But eventually it all happened where we just had a gentleman's agreement to say, fuck that item.
I feel like it was kind of quick, actually. Like, I want to say we just kind of swept it under the rug pretty quickly. But
was this like in the mod chat or something? Like where did this?
Like Cheese tried to go in the mod chat and ask for the Warp Loop to be banned. Obviously, you know, in a category like any %, where the goal is to complete the game as fast as possible using any means necessary, we can't really do that. We can't ban the use of a particular item if it makes the game faster. So it's kind of like you're shit out of luck. I'm sorry. It's the fastest way to beat the game currently. Yeah. But it wasn't until the runners collectively got together and said, okay, this makes this game unplayable. I can't grind this. I don't want to play this. This is toxic for the game. So let us agree to never use this, and let's just restore the leaderboards to where they were. And everybody who had done a Warp Looplet run, which was literally just Cheese and Pest, they both deleted all their runs of that.
Yep.
I think that's a super interesting note in the history. That honestly, I don't even think I knew about this until right now. But
yeah, then Cheese in October of 2018 completely smashed the world record, and it was the world record until
this year, I think.
Well, for some reason it's still showing on here as the world record because Wh0m hasn't put the most recent ones in here.
No, he this goes up to 2019.
If you look at the spreadsheet at that point, it is a little too outdated.
Yeah, so Cheese got a 543.55 with the same strats, still Totodile and Pikachu, but it was without split up strats and without the Warp Loop. It's a really fucking insane run.
And the funny thing was, I think I did that run as practice for like Longathon or something. I don't remember. This was probably before I did the Recruit 'em All and Longathon. That's another whole discussion. And this is a recurring thing where I would put super down for like a year or more, and then I'd just do one practice run and I'd get a good WR with it. That happened with that any percent run, and it also happened with any percent No Wonder Mail for a bit, where that run wouldn't get beaten until Wh0m would grind No Wonder Mail for a series race. But that's about all I had for the history for Super now. It was like the Warp Lupli got removed, and then I had a really good any percent run eventually before doing something else for a marathon. And then I just never really had the motivation to play after that for some reason.
I mean, you didn't really have a reason to either, because that record stood from October 12th, 2018 to July 8th, 2021.
Yeah, I always wanted to get a sub 540, and I guess now I can, but I never grinded for it.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not going to go into too much detail about who broke it, because they may be on the podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be part 3.
Yeah.
I'm not. Oh, you guys, how come you just don't even know who I've been contacting? That's all I gotta say.
We're like the second people to know.
Okay. That's pretty much the whole history of Super any percent. And I talked about the Wonder Mail, No Wonder Mail split, and I can't remember what the hell else was happening with Wonder Mail and Sky after Finn showed up. Like, we just all traded WRs for a while with the goggle specs and the weather band and the fight gem.
Oh, when did Mobile Scarf
Yeah,
come in?
because that's what I wanted to talk about.
I do remember this. Okay, so Mobile Scarf was suggested by random casuals several times over.
Random casuals did.
Yeah,
We didn't listen to
that's happened. I was always thinking like, nah, we're just gonna keep starving and having to menu for food because you just drain belly too fast. I just didn't think it would be worth it because Fight Gem was already so busted on its own. But then one day I decided to do Time Darkness with Wonder Mail instead, and there we don't have the option of Fight Gem because there's no fighting type leaders. So I figured, okay, I guess Mobile Scarf's the only way we can avoid encounters now, so I'll try it in this game. And then I know I had like an impressive chasm cave because I was just floating through the whole dungeon. That was the first time that had been seen. I later found out that Lycanoob was fascinated by that because he let that get highlighted in like a PSR podcast. And then Halq and I raced Time Darkness with Wonder Mail with those strats, and then Halq was like, shit, what if we do this in Sky? So that was when we then tried it in Sky, and then the record went down to...
Since we're going through world record histories, I believe that race ended up in a world record for Time and Darkness, because I don't think we were splitting categories at that point. I may be mistaken though.
We split Wonder Mail, No Wonder Mail for Time Darkness when we split that for Sky, but I don't remember shit for WR history for Time Darkness. I know there was a brief period where I was grinding that with the Mobile Scarf, and I just hated it, and the best I got was like a 530, which you can do a lot better than that.
No, that's still your well, no, you have a 5. Yeah, your any percent Wonder Mail PB is 530, which I think we can talk about briefly because the any percent world record currently, any percent No Wonder Mail is actually faster than that. Do you think that possibly Wonder Mail could go faster than where the No Wonder Mail record is currently, or
with how much better people have gotten with split up strats and Mobile Scarf usage, I'm sure that someone could get like probably a sub 520. Actually, isn't any percent already there for DS?
For No Wonder Mail? Or
Wonder Mail Time Darkness.
Oh, Time Darkness.
As a whole, one of the still most unexplored things in the entire community is Time Darkness with Wonder Mail. Like, nobody really messes with it because everybody would rather do Sky with Wonder Mail. That seems to be like one of the big categories of the community. So if anybody ever wants to do science, there's so much room for it in Time Darkness, Wonder Mail categories. The only Wonder Mail category of Time Darkness that I think I've optimized well is Recruit 'em All.
True.
Because
that run was fucking dumb.
Yeah, the problem with Time and Darkness mainly, with Wonder Mail that prevents it from being really good to run, is it takes an abysmal amount of time to save after every Wonder Mail code.
Oh yeah. Yeah, nobody even wanted to use Wonder Mail codes in that game because literally 20 seconds per save or something.
With Sky, Wonder Mail is like, oh my god, how many things can I bring into this game that will just make my life so much easier? With Time and Darkness is, all right, how many things can I get away with putting in this game where I won't lose 10 minutes doing it?
And that was before we could get 2 items from one Wonder Mail code, so we just had like 8 items that we could Wonder Mail in, and then that was pretty much your hard cap. So back then there wasn't much we could do. Now there's a ton of potential. now that you can get more items in Time Darkness. There's so much potential. But yeah, that was the origin of Mobile Scarf. It was actually on my Time Darkness Wondermail attempts, and then we brought it over to Sky, and then there was another WR war where like Whom got a 506, Finn got a better 506. I think I got an even better 506.
That was like
506.
That was at the very tail end. That was like late 20 or early 2019, I think.
Yeah, Finn, you got the record December 8th, 2018, and then
which I'm pretty sure
506 December 15th, 2018.
Because I'm pretty sure when I got my record, I don't know what happened when Whom got. So when I got the first world record for myself, I mean, I still wasn't using Mobile Scarf strats because I think they were brand new at the time. And then
I weren't the thing yet.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they were like just recently discovered, unless I'm misremembering. But I beat Whom by like 2 seconds or something. I don't even know. Something stupid. And then
506 is where you beat him by 2 seconds. And 506 had to have been Mobile Scarf. There's no way we got 5.
No.
510 without Mobile Scarf for sure.
That one was definitely Mobile Scarf, yeah. It was my 507 that I'm talking about. Where is that? Where even is that 507?
Right,
yeah, no, I also I beat Whom's record by 4 seconds with the 507 with no Mobile Scarf strats. And then Mobile Scarf came out, so it's like, okay, how far can we go with this now?
Doing some research for the podcast, I went back and watched that VOD because I'm interested in like seeing when people determine that, when people realize that something's going to be a world record. And with you were like, I won't believe it until I split. You were like, I know you guys are telling me that I literally just got it, but until I split, I'm not
yeah, because it was like by like that few seconds or whatever, right? So
you just had 9 minutes of anxiety. And it definitely came out in your voice.
Was that the shout out record?
No, the shout out was the one after that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's funny. I didn't know that both the times you had WR, you also just barely beat him. Because I remember for the 506, you also just barely beat him.
You know, I was never like dominant. I was just kind of just like beating it by a small hair. So
I mean, it's hard.
There was one thing you were dominant at though, Finn, at the time, and that was attempts. Because holy shit, you grinded.
Oh, something else to talk about, I think, is that like at this point, for Wondermail at least, I was the first person to memorize Wondermail codes.
Yes,
and
you were.
know, which is where I got like so much of my time save from. And I was like, okay, well, like my whole mindset was, well, because I memorized codes, like I have that much more time save over Whom. So I just need to get like luckier than he is, and then I'm set essentially. But
I'm pretty sure in Whom's 449 Skyrun, he's still looking at his phone for codes. So it's not really something that has been fully like picked up and like standardized yet.
I recall Whom saying something to the effect that he never wanted the run to come to memorizing codes, but clearly nowadays it is so optimized that it's like required.
Which I know.
And then nowadays, like the codes are made so much easier by Shady's generator.
At least there's that.
It's definitely feasible to memorize.
Yeah, back when Finn memorized it, not only were there more codes, like we did 13 codes or something, because we didn't know how to get 2 items from one code, and baller strats were less common. Actually, I think your 506 did have baller strats, but anyways, like you memorized harder codes too. Like you memorized the junk codes.
So
you were known for being
very
elephant.
Everything was very indistinct.
That was another reason I really wanted you to do quick save runs, because you clearly had the memory for it.
Which my whole thing was like, because people were memorizing quick save codes by then, right? Like people knew the quick save codes, because in BRT it's much easier to memorize.
I never memorized them, but yeah, they are easier.
Well, I don't know if people had memorized them at this point, but I was just like, oh, I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah, back then it was kind of standard, since that was an execution.
You don't have to defend it, because they clearly worked.
Yeah.
you don't have to tell us why it's good.
Well, no, I just figured that like if people, I wasn't sure if people had memorized them or not, because I was like, oh well.
I'm pretty sure nobody at that point had memorized them, and like during the junk codes era, where we just use that shitty online generator, I don't think anybody else ever had until the new Wondermail generator was made inside our community.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think that's definitely. I think, like she said, it did give you an edge because, and it's not like an edge that was undeserved. Like it's something you definitely put a lot of work into and deserved to have an advantage for. Like,
Yeah.
like
Well,
I definitely agree with that.
well, something that happened before this, and I don't know if this is gonna fuck up the pacing, but I wanted to talk about how when Whom did Darkrai, he got world record using Turtwig for any percent.
I was gonna get there because I was
Okay.
about to get to Darkrai like relatively soon.
Okay, yeah, we'll
I'll
save it for
get
that
there.
then. Yeah.
So yeah, we all had 506s at like the same time. That's where I kind of stopped with Sky Wondermail. That was Finn's last WR for that. That was my last WR for that. Then Whom's sub 5 happened. He talked about that. He thought it was going to be a grind. It happened after like 2 days.
Yeah.
Same thing with beating my 520. I think he thought that was going to be a grind. That took like 2 days or something, I think. So that's all I can recall for Sky Wondermail. We had the goggle specs from Rando, it had Mobile Scarf from TD, and then from there it was the 3S's that would remember more, I think. So let's go to No Wondermail.
Yeah.
Real quick. So there was a brief period where I was just getting tired of Wondermail and I wanted to toy around with No Wondermail. We didn't have categories yet, just the variables on the leaderboard. So I was just doing runs anyways for the hell of it. I think WR for that was still 602, but after my prior Wondermail experience, that was easy enough to beat. I got it down to like 550, 540, something like that. That was when Juicebox came into the community. He introduced his Piplup strats, which gave us inspiration to toy with more partners again.
Yep.
I think that was when I started messing with Totodile partner. I don't remember exactly. I do remember doing a lot of Riolu Cyndaquil runs. I think eventually I stopped there at like a 535, and then similar to what happened with Sky Wondermail, I talked to him into trying Sky No Wondermail in like this big fat race. And apparently I was memeing during that race with a Turtwig leader or something, because I remember there being a really funny clip from that race where Whom got like a really shitty client during one of his missions. In general, I think he didn't think too highly of the run at first, but then he later moved on to get like a 527 with Riolu Cyndaquil, which nobody
he beat my Wondermail PB without Wondermail. So
nobody could touch that shit with Riolu. Like I could not touch that. We didn't have split ups back then. Riolu sucked in No Wondermail. It is so frustrating using him compared to what we have now. This is a good story for Finn, actually. So Finn actually started using Skitty as his partner in Wondermail at some point because of this whole, hey, let's use whatever the fuck partner we want. That became Finn's main partner. Like, that was his thing. He would always advocate for it because of fake out from behind you, massive damage from the stab, and the normalize, making all attacks normal type.
Which I just want to mention super quick. I wasn't even the one who came up with that. It was my friend who doesn't even play this fucking game. I was just talking to him, and I was just like explaining what partners we use and shit like that. And he was like, "Oh, do you think there's anything better?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then he was looking at like, I don't know, Bulbapedia or some shit with all the moves and the stats. It's like, why don't you try like Skitty? I'm like, okay, maybe I will. And then I messaged Cheez about it, and Cheez was like, hey, this could actually work or something. And then he gave me a more defined move set that I should try.
Yeah, back then I was like the guy to come to for figuring out move sets.
Yeah. So Cheez fucking came up with the actual strats for it, and then my friend came up with the whole concept for Skitty. But yeah.
And after seeing you run that in Wondermail long enough, I was like, I wonder if this is good in No Wondermail. And oh god, yeah, it was. I did 3 runs. First, I was doing Skitty leader Cyndaquil partner, because Cyndaquil was still, I guess, just kind of the standard partner. I wasn't sure what to go with it. I still was not able to beat Whom's 527 just yet. I think the closest I got was like a 530, which was still a good improvement for me, and I saw a lot of potential in that. And then I tried Totodile partner because I realized that would have better type coverage for Skitty, since Skitty was suffering against rock, steel, and ghost types, obviously. And Totodile had water and dark moves to cover that. So that was perfect. And then the two of them immediately got a 523 in a solid run. Was it 523? 3-4. Oh no, it was just straight to 520. And that's still my PB to this day, actually.
Well, because up until this time, we were using a Riolu Toto, right, for No Wondermail?
It must have been Riolu Cyndaquil.
Yeah, you're right. It was Cyndaquil.
Because if I took Cyndaquil partner with Skitty, then I must have been doing Riolu Cyndaquil,
right.
which Cyndaquil is a good partner for Riolu anyways, for type coverage reasons. But with Skitty, Totodile was the better partner for type coverage reasons, and just in general, Totodile is a fucking boss in the game. Like he's really, we saw that with Rando, I think. So yeah, I got my 520, stomping the 527 by 7 minutes. And Whom was there in chat, and he was like, "Oh shit, this looks like a good challenge to beat." And then he got a 519 like literally the next day immediately, and then we both just quit the category for a long time.
It's interesting that Skitty ended up becoming like in the question with PMD2 in any capacity, because when I was trying to figure out what was the best for Time in Darkness in 2015, 2014, I completely had written Skitty off because I was still trying to look at it as from a BRT's perspective, where you would use like double slap and multi-hit moves were the meta, and they don't work in PMD2. So I was like, okay, well, multi-hit moves not working, plus normalize eliminating any chance of Skitty getting through the future, unviable, reset. I just completely wrote it off.
That's the funny thing about Skitty. If you use it like how in BRT, it totally flops because Attract only works on half the enemies in the sky since the game has gender. And then Double Slap's accuracy took a hard nerf. Like it's a shit move in those games. But turns out all you had to do is tackle Fake Out, and then everything dies. And then eventually Feint Attack. And it even works in Darkrai. So I guess with that, we can move on to Darkrai finally. The thing I've been dying to talk about.
Yeah, let's go to
I think we mentioned last time how Darkrai started.
Yeah. So I'll start with Wondermail. I guess, okay, so it started with Fretzy's 15-hour run, where he got like this really shit any percent run, and Halq was like, do Darkrai, I dare you.
Yeah, like what happened was, just to quickly gloss over it, Fretzy had some issue. I think he died in Dark Hill or something and reset the game, and he was back at like Crystal Cave or something ridiculous like that. So we had to play through like an extra hour of the game.
Fretzy did not reset runs.
He reset back to a save he had. So it was in the middle of a race, so he kept on. He didn't quit. And he had like an 8-hour, 9-hour any percent, which was not great. And then he was no balls into doing Darkrai. Now the problem with Darkrai, the major problem with Darkrai that can be solved with Wondermail is Aegis Cave. Aegis Cave requires you to collect unknown stones that spell out a couple words. I don't remember exactly what the words are. It's been so long stuff.
Ice, Rock, Steel.
Ice, Rock, and Steel. And it's complete RNG if you even get the right unknowns to show up. And it's complete RNG if they even drop a stone. So what was the fix for this in Wh0misDS?
You could literally just Wondermail in the stones.
Yeah.
So you just had like 12 Wondermail codes for that. And you actually did the first run with that. Like Fretzy's run was from before the Wondermail split and before Wondermail codes were even known to be of use. And Halq did his second ever attempt of it. He had some attempt prior that I guess just died, and he died to Darkrai and gave up. And it almost happened again with Halq's 12-hour. It was like 10 to 12-hour run.
Yeah, my
10.
I think my Darkrai PB as of today is 10:47, but that
10.
involved 30 minutes of dying to Darkrai and Dark Crater. So a lot of room for improvement there.
Yeah.
But I do remember I was the one that initially went through and gathered all the Wondermail codes for stones. I think I may have shared the doc with Cheese, and we kind of worked with things on that. I don't know if you were around then. Let me know if I'm wrong.
I did get to watch that 1047 run, and I was kind of fascinated by the category, but also intimidated because I saw Dark Crater and how shit it was. But later on, I was on vacation and I started routing Darkrai a bit more clearly, even trying to develop my own guide for it, and eventually did my own first ever Darkrai run on that vacation. Looks like I got a 9-hour 17 run, so that was an hour and a half improvement, much of which was from not dying to Darkrai because I took Totodile partner with Blizzard.
You don't gotta put Halq on blast here. I mean, come on.
I didn't mean to come off that way.
No, I'm just fucking around. But
yeah, so I mean, to give Halq credit, like what he did was revolutionary in its own right. Literally, that was only the second finished run, and he beat Fretzy's run by 5 hours. So,
but even then, that's like so like I don't even know why you guys would even attempt this in the first place. Because just looking at the time, it's just like shit. I don't want to sit here for that long. Like, come on.
I mean, within the same stream, Helk was also joking about starting a Gates race. Like, we're just fucking insane. That's really all there is to it. We're just fucking insane. We just look at these dumb categories and we're like, this looks fun to give a shot at.
20? Yeah, I made a lot of bad decisions when I was 20. So I don't know anybody who hasn't at that age.
Yeah, I guess I was inspired by Hulk's Darkrai run, despite how tough it looked. So I wanted to give it a shot and reroute it a little. So I routed it with Riolu Totodile partner. Gave Totodile the Blizzard TM because there were so many boss fights where you have a crowd to fight against. And then I figured I would just Violent Seed Blizzard my way through them. That saved me so much time and trouble. I didn't have to worry about Aegis Cave.
Goated Blizzard Blizzard.
Yeah, Blizzard Blizzard, yes.
I've never heard that before.
Did we talk about Blizzard yet? Because was that like you came up with that, right? She's Blizzard being used?
Yeah, that was my idea.
Okay.
I knew that we needed something for those bosses, and I knew that Totodile, even though this was before I was using Totodile and no Wondermail, like we've kind of taken a trip back to 2017, 2018, around there. I still knew that Totodile was good in the game. It was just I was having a hard time getting people to believe that, and I was having a hard time making more use of him, but he was good for that category.
Mm-hmm.
And his type being for Dark Crater was great. I don't remember the details of that run other than at some point Hulk showed up in a voice call and he was like, okay, I see you're like a half hour ahead of me after any percent, so good luck, buddy. And I can't really remember Wondermail optimizations for Darkrai too well from there. It looks like at some point after my 917 I did another run that saved a half hour, probably just from knowing better what the hell I was doing. That's kind of how a lot of Darkrai goes. It's such a massive, chaotic, hellish category that you have to do several runs of it just to figure out what to do at all. Looks like I just kind of slowly got it down over time. Whom has
just a quick note. There's some things we didn't know about Sky any percent for a while, like the ability to escape orb on certain days to skip missions or even dinner skip.
Right.
So going into Darkrai, the progression was a complete unknown that we had to solve. Because all we had was Fretzy's footage from with no route, just playing through the game essentially casually.
Right, that was the main thing I had to route, was figuring out the missions. Yeah, this is when
I just continued doing one mission a day because I just didn't know. And then Cheese, Cheese is a lot more thorough than I am with routing, and that's something I've always respected about him. Is he'll sit there for hours and like figure out what's perfect. I just don't have the attention span, so I won't.
Though I did still make a couple mistakes in routing, like well, for one, I didn't know which days were missions and which days were escape orbs for sure. And there were a couple of days that I thought you had to do missions for a long time. That later I found out in the middle of a recruit them all that were actually escape orb days. So I made some mistakes, but in general, I had like a vague idea of like just do these missions to get these unknown stones here. I did like a casual playthrough-ish of Darkrai before doing my first Darkrai run, and then from there we slowly whittled it down. I unfortunately do not remember any details of Wh0mis 844 on the leaderboard. I know there was a brief period where he seemed to be contemplating competing with me in Darkrai Wondermail, but Wh0m would always get tortured by the category. He only has 2 finished runs on the leaderboard, an 844 and an 820. The 820 was the Turtwig partner run. Like I was like gritting my teeth because I was trying to encourage people to use Totodile in any percent, I think, and especially for Darkrai, and then Wh0m's just like, fuck it, Turtwig.
Yeah. Which I thought it was fucking crazy because for me, that was like, sure, like Juice with like fucking Piplup was like, yeah, you really can use like whoever you want, and so like at good times. But like Wh0m using Turtwig and getting rolled a record was just like, it doesn't even fucking matter, does it?
Yeah, he got double WR with that. He got any percent WR with Turtwig, and he got then the Darkrai record with an 820 with Turtwig. He didn't even use the Blizzard strats. I thought he was going to get his ass shredded on the boss fights with that Turtwig, and he somehow pulled through. I still don't know how that happened, but I know I was determined to beat that. From here, I really don't remember any details. I know at some point I went on a sub 8 grind for Darkrai with Wondermail. somewhere around here was when we started to find out about the chamber rooms from Wondermail, where we could get infinite revives. That helped me a lot because Darkrai with Wondermail, one issue was Shaman and Sky Peak. That escort with Shaman, when you're trying to fight gem in that dungeon, often took away so many reviver seeds that I would usually deposit the fight gem old school for that dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember one run I lost 13 revives in that dungeon because Shaman just dies so often. But after getting infinite revives from the chamber codes...
But when did that happen?
Let's see. I think this was another instance of a random casual telling us that they used the Wondermail generator for some kind of mission, and then they ended up in the chamber in Surrounded Sea that had 4 reviver seeds in it. And they were like, what the fuck?
True.
And then we started to wonder how on earth we could get more out of that. And there was this just big booming discussion about that. This was when we found out so much that we could do with the Sky Wondermail generator. That we had a really fun night just fucking around trying different codes. Levin was like, what was Levin doing?
Was this like 2018 or 2019 though?
I can't remember. 2018 and 2019 are really foggy for me. I want to say 2019.
Yeah. Okay.
But this was like a field day and a big day of renovation for Sky. Although at the time it only affected Darkrai. It didn't really affect Wondermail yet.
I remember the Discord popping off that whole fucking night and just me looking at my phone, like 500 plus messages or some shit. I'm just like, damn.
Yeah. Levin was posting screenshots of like being in the secret bazaar on a normal looking floor. And we were just like, what the fuck? Like that was when we found out we could go to any floor we wanted in the entirety of Sky as long as there was a consistent floor. So that helped me grind for sub 8, but I never got past 803. And that was when I ended up giving up. I don't think I got the 753 until Shady found out how to skip Surrounded Sea using one of the chambers, where you could go get the egg that you're supposed to get in Surrounded Sea just from a regular old mission, and then the story would just progress from there as if you had beaten Surrounded Sea. So Surrounded Sea skip gave me 753, and then from then we started getting the Jirachi exploit, which totally broke Darkrai Wondermail open and broke open Recruit 'em All Wondermail as well.
Yeah, at this point we're treading Zoomer territory though.
Yeah, so let's not get into that just yet.
Yeah, that's a discussion for another day. Darkrai, no Wondermail.
It's quite a progression though. For a category that was born from a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I mentioned all icons before as well in the last podcast. Like it was something I came up with as a joke in the Skype group because I was trying to be funny. I was like, what if we had a category called all icons where you filled out the icons on the main menu, and then everyone's like, you fucking idiot. No, nobody's gonna do that with you. And I got what I wanted, so I shut up. And then here we are. It's like a semi main category, and people actually do runs of it. It's insane.
Yeah, Darkrai has always mainly been like my thing for the most part, but especially the Wondermail. But nowadays I don't touch Wondermail now that it's totally broken. And Darkrai no Wondermail, I got my ass kicked. But I'll talk about Darkrai no Wondermail now, because after, for a while I was only using Wondermail codes in Darkrai. I didn't want to take it seriously without Wondermail because I knew it would be a disgusting meme until one fateful night where I decided to give it a shot. And so, one 11-hour run later, this was with the Wondermail record being like 8:30 or something. No Wondermail I tried. I get a fucking 11-hour run because I had no idea what to do for like just regular old missions. I was so reliant on my Wondermail codes carrying me. We literally did not know which days were escape orb days, which days were regular mission days. I still wasn't totally sure how many missions were even required or how many you could do at once. I literally wasn't sure how feasible the dungeons would be without all those Wondermail codes backing me up and being underpowered. I didn't know about Skitty yet, so I dragged fucking Riolu into the run. And I think I tried Pikachu Partner because I was so used to relying on Blizzard. I was so used to relying on Blizzard in the bosses that I figured, okay, maybe Pikachu can carry me with Discharge. Never again.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, that was mistake number 3, with number 1 being doing the run at all. So yeah, that run drove me fucking apeshit crazy. It was really, really hard to get through, and it was a disaster. But this is, of course, the origin of Service Fish. where it just so happened that while I was in Miracle Sea, one of the post-game dungeons, losing my shit because the entire run was just a disaster. Even any percent was miserable to get through, which was a really bad start. I, of course, just happened to recruit Chinchou. At the time, Lantern was already one of my favorite Pokemon from a main series experience I had with it that was pleasant. So I decided to take the Chinchou instead of declining it like we normally would decline all recruits and speedrunning the game, just for comfort. And then I evolved it to Lantern, literally just to feel better, to have a Pokemon I liked with me. And then that was when we found out that Illuminate actually could help in Aegis Cave by forcibly spawning more unknowns. Whether it's truly optimal or not is up to question, but at the time that was like, oh, thank God, this is actually amazing. And then also, more importantly, I had charge discharge for the Regigigas fight, so I realized I didn't even need Pikachu for that shit. I just had Service Fish do it. Quill and Juicebox were in a call with me while I was going apeshit crazy during this run. And it was Juicebox that called the Lantern a service dog. And then
I think the exact quote was, you read someone's message in chat, and you were like, why is there a Chinchou on my screen? Because it's keeping me sane. And I just chuckled and said, it's like a service dog.
Yeah, basically. And then I called it Service Fish, and here we are to this day.
Which, if you don't know, like, and you're like, why how's this history in like these games? Like, Service Fish is such an icon in the community that like
it's actually what our Discord mods are called.
It needs
Service Fishes.
After that run was done, I loved Lantern so much. I immediately switched my profile pic on Discord to the portrait of Lantern with a bow tie. We wanted to give it some kind of attire. At the time, Totodile was like my only big giant meme Pokemon, and I used official Sky artwork for him for the giant Pokemon on stream. So he had a bow tie. So I just gave Service Fish one as well, and I did that as like what I expected to be just brief lulls, but later on really became attached to it. And every run from there on, I would hope I would get a Service Fish in every Darkrai No Wondermail run, but it usually didn't happen. Most of the time, the category would just get optimized by knowing better how to work around the boss fights. We did eventually get Skitty in the runs. That helped so much. And obviously, I ditched the Pikachu because he was god-awful.
But I mean, it was actually useful in the runs. I don't know if you touched on that yet, but...
The Pikachu?
No, Service Fish with Illuminate. I don't know if you
yeah,
that.
so yeah, Illuminate, every time it gets hit, it spawns an enemy, which is great in Aegis Cave, where you have to farm items off of unknowns, and then Discharge for the boss fight. That was the main thing.
Just to give you an idea of how long you can really burn time in Aegis Cave, I believe some people's difference between their best split and the split that they end up coming out with could be up to like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's awful.
45 minutes. It's absolutely absurd.
It's a run killer for sure.
In general, Darkrai No Wondermail is not a run that's a good idea to take seriously, because there's a lot of shit that can go horribly wrong. Like, the main thing Darkrai No Wondermail has always been just like this really fun, let's have a meme race category and see who wins kind of thing. But I did gradually over time get better and better and better about working around the bullshit. This really helped me develop my general skills in Explorers of Sky and my general knowledge. I loved having races with it. At one point, Finn, Anthem, and I all started doing weekly races of Darkrai No Wondermail.
Yeah, our Darkrai Sundays or whatever we call them.
Yeah,
right?
It started with you and Anthem having like one-off Sky No Wondermail any percent races, and then you both won one race. So I joked, will the tiebreaker be Darkrai?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that's how it happened. Yeah.
And then from there, the category would slowly get optimized. And then eventually Yimo would come in, compete with me. And yeah, he did a good job. Eventually, I got what I thought was a god run on like a Christmas. Yeah, I have to leave in 10 minutes.
So yeah,
I have to pick up the pace.
So I think let's leave Darkrai at that. What do you want to talk about more? Do you want to do super
Recruitables? I want to talk about
Wait, I don't know. I feel like Recruitables could be a whole episode. I'm not even gonna lie.
Maybe.
Because there's so much to talk about, right?
Actually, you know what? That's probably for the better. That's like a whole history fucking episode right there, which could also have whom.
Yeah, so what?
Yeah.
I guess pick
Yo, who would be good to have on that episode also? Maybe Alti, since she was the one that routed Gates recruit 'em all.
Alright.
She 100% did the Gates recruit 'em all route by herself.
All right, we'll talk about this shit then later.
But with Cheese in particular, I've remarked over the years that it seems like a lot of what he's done has been overshadowed by whom, like he said, doing things like 2 days later just a little bit better. But I think for sure, these two are very much our most, are some of our most valuable members of the community in terms of, what Whom offers in terms of going on YouTube. His content is where people get their entrance point into our community, and Cheese. And once they're here, they have Cheese's guides to look forward to as a resource for getting started with the game. Because I've been running a lot of games. I've run a lot of Mario games, a lot of Pokemon, a lot of Zelda. I've never read more in-depth tutorials on how to play a video game fast than I have with MozzarellaCheez's guides.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think, if there's any question about what you've done for our community or, what purpose you have, I think you've made the lives of so many people easier here. And just, it's incredible.
I'm glad to have done that, and that's probably always what I will be. At this point, most strats that I have made are now more just beginner strats, if anything. But I guess that's
context
still,
is key, because at the time, fucking
I mean,
you
Super
wrote the guide.
Yes.
You wrote the guide that got me world record, essentially, right? So
back in the day, my routes were WR routes. Now they're just beginner routes.
Yeah,
but
Super Wonder Mail, I will recommend Totodile Pikachu to beginners, but you have to keep in mind how long it took for that route to get outdated.
Yeah,
it took 3 years for that route to become outdated.
Even if it was just because nobody was playing.
I mean, still, but we had already achieved great times, so
yeah,
there wasn't much more room to go up from there.
And cheese routes are viable because they're doable, they're consistent. Like the super thing that's going on right now, you guys switch partners every single fucking day. But I think it's Charmander right now, that is just not as consistent as Pikachu Totodile, which is why it took forever to figure out that technically, giant asterisk, it is better, it's faster. But it's just it's not as realistic, especially for new players, because if new players are I can't even beat the game with this route, they're just not going to do it. They're just not ever going to get into the run.
Yeah, that's how my guides end up being what they were. I, being a new runner, really just wanted to be able to finish runs, so I always wanted to aspire for the most consistent, safe, easy to finish thing possible, which is kind of why for Sky Wonder Mail, I always insisted on using Golden Seeds on Riolu for the longest time, and I insisted on Vulpix's partner for new people, but new people would always end up trying other shit that they'd seen in WR runs. That's just generally how I work.
So the Giga Chad move is, you're only going to watch what's in the world record run? Okay, let me go ahead and get the world record so that you have to watch that.
That was my biggest that was my biggest concern with Turchwood getting world record. Because I was a big advocate at the time, because I was still when Vulpix was the thing. I was Vulpix is definitely the way to go for me at that moment. And I was just anybody who comes in and sees Turchwick as world record, they're just gonna be oh, that's the most optimal, I'm gonna use Turchwick. But
that's more pervasive in the community than it really should be. And I mean, there's not really much you can do about that. I don't know.
Yeah, nowadays the WR routes are if you try this shit, you're going to die. So I really hope that people find my guides still.
You go watch Sky Wonder Mail record and you see fucking Munchlax. What are you supposed to think?
Nowadays records are so optimized that you can't even learn much from watching them, because those are the luckiest runs that those runners have had, and therefore not many problems occurred. But a harsh reality with PMD is that if you're playing to finish runs, you need to know how to work around a lot of difficult situations that you don't often see in world record runs. You really have to do runs to learn the game, and so it's nice to be able to finish runs as easily as possible when you're starting out. And that's what I like about older strats.
So older, just to give you a comparison where older guides were compared to Cheese's guides, older guides was okay, go ahead and link these, BRT, for example, since I wrote the Skitty guide. BRT, go ahead and link these two moves, get through this dungeon, and then for the next dungeon, you're going to stop. that previous dungeon, there's a lot of things in there that probably need to be covered. There's like 5 different types of enemy types. They all have different moves. They all have different scary things to look out for. You're not really helping somebody to the fullest effect by just telling them to get through a dungeon. That's where Cheese's guide comes in. Cheese has like bullet points for every single dungeon. It'll say this thing is scary because it has stun spore, hypnosis, gust, and like it's terrible. Avoid it. Use this item if this thing ever shows its face. And it's just so much more comprehensive. And the boss strategies as well. You can just tell by reading it that so much work and trial and error and double checking, triple checking has gone into the boss strategy section of every single one of Cheese's guides.
Although that said, Orange has found way better boss strats than me for Darkrai at this point, but that's another story.
I was mainly thinking of Super.
Oh yeah, Super. I had a lot of
Even
shit.
though T-Tar will literally never be figured out, but that's okay.
Yeah, T-Tar's a dick. There's a lot of bosses in that game that are just dicks. One other thing I wanted to touch upon, we didn't get to talk too much about gates. There was a brief period where I revolutionized that game by introducing Tepig leader Axu partner. Axu was the obvious leader choice because of dual chop, but what I noticed about the game was, for one, obviously recruitment text was slow as balls because the text speed is slow as balls. So I figured, why don't we have the partner kill everything, because you can swap with your partner and still have it be their turn, and then you can even heal them mid-combat. So I decided to go with Axu partner. Tepig leader because of defense curl rollout, so he had something to work with for the dungeons where he's on his own. And I was able to bring that down from like an 830 to an 806 immediately, although I think that was with NTR, so I kind of cheated, but it was still definitely the best run at that time. And I did that like right before a series race, so that was kind of a proud moment for me. That's all I've really ever done with gates, though. I haven't touched No Wonder Mail, and I haven't touched the new Wonder Mail strats. I just miss how it was with the old Wonder Mail strats, because it was similar to No Wonder Mail, but without the crazy shit going on now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like when I was doing gates runs recently, like to get the record, I noticed with the route right now, I was 8 minutes or plus like 10 minutes behind my best split times for like Stony Cave, because of how long you sit there doing multiple codes and then ingesting all of those joy seeds. It gives you such a setback in the beginning, but then you just end up saving a ridiculous amount of time from being able to use dual shot or Dragon Dance immediately. It's wicked. We'll go over that more in the Zoomer episode, I'm sure.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
Zoomer episode. Yeah, we unfortunately didn't touch too much upon Warp Scarf and BRT.
Yeah,
quick
which
saves. We haven't got to mention that.
To be fair, man, yeah, we didn't even really finish so much of this episode. So
yeah, we didn't even touch upon the No Wonder Mail split for BRT, because BRT got a triple split instead of just a double split. It was always single segment and then quick saves when I started. It used to be called S and Q and then single segments.
Yeah.
And then we decided to just allow saving, and so we renamed the categories accordingly. And then we also, because we wanted to have something presentable to GDQ, we proposed that we had like a No Wonder Mail with quick saves category, because that would be ideal. We wouldn't be entering passwords in front of the audience, but we would at least have a finishable run. So that was where that came about, and in that category's early stages, that was when I got my first ever and still only Blue Rescue Team world record.
I was about to say, even with no Wonder Mail with quick saves, I wouldn't even say it's fucking marathon compatible due to my own in-person marathon experience. But you know,
yeah, it's still tough.
I'm still sorry, Mistaldi. I went to Smash the Record 2017 and ran Blue Rescue Team. Mistaldi donated at the beginning of the run, said I'll donate $10 for every Reviver seed you lose.
Oh, no.
I hope you'll recover financially someday, my brother.
Yeah, that run.
I think he paid like $90 or something ridiculous like that, because I literally had to make up new Articuno strats on the fly. So
yeah,
definitely practice your games before you get into a marathon, especially in person, because that stage anxiety.
And optionally get WR beforehand if you're me with Super. But okay, I am unfortunately out of time. So I'm glad I at least got to talk about Service Fish. Definitely want to talk about Recruit 'em All someday. I have so much to say about those.
I'm gonna figure out how I want to go about this for future episodes, but it's
Rich
safe
had
to
a little bit of a
say-
short time.
Yeah.
Apparently, I could go on for like 5 hours, but I really wish I could remember chronological order for shit. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I got to peace out.
Yeah,
Go to work.
thank you so much for joining, bro. It was really great. I think you provided so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. I'll catch you later. And
Good night, y'all.
yeah, see you. And I guess this is where the episode officially ends. Thank you so much for watching. I didn't even get to introduce Halq and Juice at the beginning because I was so much in a rush trying to get like Wh0m and Cheez introduced so we could just like get talking. Yeah.
Leaderboard mod.
But I mean, at this point, it's like fucking like everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
If you watch this, like, so, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys next time.